Welcome back to Worlds of Protheka audiobooks. And if this is your first time, be warned. Once you step into Protheka, you'll never want to leave. With beasts who will stop at nothing to protect the women they love, and women who are only just finding out what a real man can be, you'll lose yourself in the dark romance of these fantasy stories. To bring you these free full audiobooks, we have to listen to this platform's guidelines, and they say that Protheka's steamiest scenes aren't allowed. But you can still get them from the unabridged version of any Prothekan audiobook. All you have to do is go to worldsofprotheka.com. With promo code YouTube30, we're offering you the opportunity to get 30% off of any audiobook, ebook, or bundle. We appreciate you subscribing to the channel, as it makes bringing these free full audiobooks to you possible. Don't forget to like and comment to let us know what you think. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this story is just the beginning. Chapter 1. Mira. The lie has a new scent. It is not the smell of pine and oil that Aricel once told me about, a clumsy mask for old blood. This lie is more sophisticated. It smells of melting beeswax, mulled ash wine, and the cloying, self-congratulatory perfume of a peace that has been bought, but never truly earned. I stand in the shadows of the great hall, watching the final preparations for the third vigil feast, and the scent of it all makes my teeth ache. Years have passed. The caverns glitter with the symbols of reform. The great chains of night, heavy with the links of 3 years of unity, shimmer in the light of 1,000 candles. Children, human and Vrakan alike, laugh as they chase each other through the forest of noble legs, their innocence a fragile, beautiful testament to the world Drazen and Solen have built. It is a perfect picture, and every perfect picture is a lie. I am 19 years old. I am no longer the trembling, hollow-eyed child who was saved from a sacrificial altar. I am a woman, sharp-witted, bold, and so restless it feels like a fire in my blood. I am the ward of the warlord and his queen, a beloved daughter, a cherished symbol of their victory. I am also a prisoner in a cage forged from their love, and I am rattling the bars. A pompous old traditionalist, Lord Valerius, stops before me, his face full of condescending affection. He is one of the ones who never truly believed, who still whispers Sorexa's name in the shadows, but is too cowardly to do more. He reaches out a pale, long-fingered hand and pats my head as if I am a well-behaved hound. "Little Mira," he coos, his voice a silken, infuriating drawl. "How you have grown, still the jewel of our court, a perfect silent symbol of the warlord's mercy." The fire in my blood ignites. I do not pull away. I simply look up at him, my expression one of wide-eyed, innocent curiosity. "And you, Lord Valerius," I say, voice as sweet as poison. "Still the jewel of your own echo chamber, a perfect silent symbol of a time when opinions mattered more than courage." His hand freezes on my head. A shocked, sputtering sound escapes his lips, and his face pales, then flushes a dark, angry purple. From across the hall, I see Aricel, leaning against a pillar with Arik, throw her head back in a silent, delighted laugh. I offer Lord Valerius a dazzling, utterly insincere smile and step away, leaving him to choke on his own sputtering irrelevance. The small victory is a hollow one. It does not matter how sharp my tongue is. To them, I will always be little Mira. My gaze lifts to the great chains being hoisted into their final positions. They are magnificent, a testament to the peace that has held. But I see the cracks they all pretend to ignore. I was at the forging ceremony. I saw the empty spaces at the anvils, the quiet refusal of a dozen minor houses to add their link. I see the tension in the way the guards hold their hands on their swords, the fear that still lingers in the eyes of the human servants. This unity is a performance, and the actors are growing tired of their lines. I trace the small carved snowflake charm Isolde gave me years ago, a token that hangs from a leather cord around my neck. I feel like a fraud. I have a place at the warlord's table, a name whispered with reverence by the children, but I have not earned it. I did not fight in the Solstice War. I did not bleed for this peace. I am a story they tell themselves, a relic of a battle I only survived. I look at the glittering, heavy chains, and I wonder, with a deep, aching loneliness, where my own link truly belongs. The feast begins. The hall is a sea of crimson and silver, a symphony of polite laughter and the clinking of goblets. Drazian and Solene take their places on the dais, a king and queen of impossible grace, their love a palpable, grounding force in the tense hall. I stand near them, a princess in a story I did not write. The great iron doors are thrown open, a gust of cold air sweeping through the hall, a theatrical announcement of the warlord's final entrance. But it is not Drazian who stands there. A woman. Her beauty is a painful physical blow, a terrifying perfect thing that silences the entire hall in a single, collective gasp. She is a vision of obsidian black hair and eyes the colour of emeralds, her skin a flawless, ghostly white. She wears a gown of pure midnight black, and she radiates a dark, purna-tainted magic so powerful it feels like a pressure against my skin. It is Lady Syrexa, and she is not alone. At her side stands Lord Vanar, his face no longer gaunt but hardened into a mask of cruel, triumphant resolve. On her other side is Lady Nysera, her beauty now a feral, venomous thing. Her hand rests possessively on the arm of a hulking, monstrous orc, Gorbash, whose tusks gleam in the torchlight, his presence a raw, brutal insult to the assembled court. The whispers of the past year, the cruel jokes, are a sudden, terrifying reality. The fragile peace of the third vigil feast does not just crack, but it shatters. Screams erupt. Guards draw their swords, their movements a frantic, useless gesture in the face of the sheer, audacious power that has just invaded their hall. Syrexa takes a slow, deliberate step into the room, her emerald gaze sweeping over the chaos she has created. Her eyes pass over a stunned Dorian, over a furious Drazian who is already on his feet, his hand on his sword. Her gaze does not stop. It continues, a cold, predatory line, until it finds me. And there it stops. A slow, terrible smile spreads across her perfect face. She has not returned to the throne. She has not returned for a crown. She has returned for me.
Chapter 2. Soren. From my perch in the forgotten alcoves of the upper cavern, the city below is a constellation of lies. I watch the distant, festive glow of the third vigil feast, 1,000 tiny flames reflecting off the black ice of the ceiling like captured dying stars, and the sight fills my mouth with the taste of old ash. The wind that snakes through these high, dead tunnels is a cold, lonely thing. It carries the faint, mocking perfume of their celebration, the rich scent of roasting marrow, the spicy tang of mulled ash wine, and the cloying sweetness of pine incense. It is the scent of a peace I do not believe in, a hope I cannot afford, a life that is no longer mine. I am a ghost in my own home, a silent watcher on the fringes, and this feast is a testament to everything I have lost. My corner of the world is cold and damp, smelling of wet stone and the dust of ages, a scent as dry and as final as the inside of a tomb. It is a fitting home for a male who is already dead. Down below they laugh and they drink, their lives a bright, noisy river of blissful ignorance, their sounds echoing up to me as a faint, hollow murmur. They have forgotten the true nature of the longest night. They have forgotten the teeth that wait in the darkness. My fingers trace the cold, rough texture of the stone I lean against, the only solid thing in a world of ghosts and echoes. The largest of my scars, a jagged line that runs from my temple to my jaw, begins to ache, a familiar phantom of a pain I can never truly escape. It always aches when I think of her. A pair of young sentinels, their black iron armor gleaming with the polish of peacetime, walks the patrol route on the narrow, railless walkway far below my ledge. Their voices clear and sharp in the cavern's vast, echoing silence drift up to my perch. They are young, their faces pale and unlined, their movements stiff with the self-conscious importance of new authority. They are not speaking of the feast or of their duties. They are telling ghost stories to pass the time, and I am the monster at the heart of them. "They say he still haunts these upper tunnels," the younger one whispers, his voice a mixture of delicious terror and a recruit's bravado. He casts a nervous glance up into the oppressive darkness where I sit, unseen. That if you stand too close to the edge on a quiet night, you can feel his curse on the air. A cold spot, they say, the touch of the goddess's displeasure. "He's no curse," the older one scoffs, but there is a tremor of fear in his voice that belies his confidence. "He was her commander, Sorexa's hound. When she fell, they say the goddess Akeldama herself struck him down for his loyalty, left him broken, abandoned, his soul forfeit. The words are a familiar poison, a story that has grown more elaborate with each passing year. The cursed one. Akeldama's abandoned. I am no longer a male. I'm a legend, a boogeyman used to frighten children and keep young guards from straying from their posts. A cold, bitter rage coils in my gut. They fear a goddess's curse, a thing of myth and superstition. They do not fear the truth. They do not fear her. She is the one who cursed me, not with the goddess's wrath, but with a memory of fire and a profound screaming silence where my family's laughter used to be. My gaze is drawn back to the great hall, to the distant glittering strands of the chains of night that hang like captured nebulae in the gloom. The reformers see them as a symbol of unity, of choice. I see only a prettier cage, a more elegant leash. The sight of them, so full of a hope I find pathetic, triggers not a specific memory but a feeling. A cold, suffocating sensation that I know as well as my own name. My soul remembers a different kind of chain, one forged not of iron but of a silken thread. The scent of night-blooming jasmine, her scent, fills my memory, a perfume that always smelled of a gilded cage. She never needed steel to bind me. A quiet, venomous whisper, a single well-placed word was a shackle I wore for a century. That was her chain, not of iron but of a love so possessive, so absolute. It was a prison. I was her hound, yes, but I was a leashed one, and she never once for 100 years let me forget who held the other end. These fools below, with their pretty trinkets and their toasts of partnership, know nothing of the true nature of chains. As I stew in the cold acid of my own bitterness, a new sensation cuts through the familiar landscape of my self-imposed exile. It is not a sound. It is not a tremor in the stone. It is a shift in the very air I breathe. A change in the magical pressure of the cavern. A disturbance in the deep, ancient currents that flow through this mountain like a slow, black river. And with it comes a scent. It is faint at first, a sickly sweet note that curls the edges of the familiar smells of stone and pine, a perfume of rot and power that makes the fine hairs on my arms stand on end. I have not smelled it in years. I've prayed to any god that would listen, to any silent stone in this mountain, that I would never smell it again. It is the unmistakable, unforgettable signature of corrupted Purna magic. Her magic. A cold, absolute certainty, as hard and as sharp as a shard of ice, pierces through the fog of my bitterness. The ghost is no longer just a memory. The whispers are no longer just a threat. She is not coming back. She is here, and the feast below, with its pretty lights and its hopeful, foolish songs, is not a celebration. It is a beautifully decorated slaughterhouse, and the cattle are dancing completely, blissfully unaware of the butcher who has just walked through the door.
Chapter 3. Mira. You look like you're about to bite someone. Arisel's voice, dry and amused, cuts through my dark mood. I turn from my perch overlooking the main training yard, to see her leaning against the archway, a picture of lazy, insolent grace. The ever-present chain that connects her to Arik is looped loosely over her arm, an accessory she wears with more ease than I wear my own skin. The air drifting up from the yard is sharp with the scent of sweat and steel, and the rhythmic clang of blades is a song I find more honest than any courtly music. I mutter, turning my gaze back to the Fracken warriors below, their movements a blur of deadly precision. I have this itch under my skin, a feeling like the air is too thick to breathe, like I need to run until my lungs burn, or fight until something breaks. "It's called boredom, kid," she says, pushing off the wall to stand beside me. The familiar scent of leather and something uniquely Aricel, like street dust and sharp, clean metal, surrounds her. "You've been cooped up in this pretty, gilded cage your whole life. You're the warlord's precious little bird, and you're forgetting you have claws." Her words are a perfect, infuriating summary of my entire existence. I am a relic, a living symbol of the day the reforms began. They look at me and they see the trembling, half-starved child Solène saved from a sacrificial altar. They do not see the woman who has spent years listening to Arik's war stories, practicing dagger forms with a reluctant Lucerys, and learning the art of the verbal kill from the master Dorian. They see a monument, and I am desperate to prove I am a weapon. "I'm not a bird," I snap, the words sharper than I intend. "No." She agrees, a slow, dangerous grin spreading across her face as she watches my fists clench. "You're a wolf cub who's tired of the den and starting to feel her teeth. Just be careful when you finally decide to bite. This place is full of bigger wolves than you." As if summoned by the mention of the pack's alpha female, Solène approaches. Her movements are a river of regal grace, her crimson gown a stark, beautiful contrast to the cavern's gloom. But her face, my beloved Solène's face, is a mask of maternal worry that feels like a physical weight. It is a look I have come to despise, for it reminds me not of her love, but of my own perceived weakness. "Mira, there you are," she says, her voice soft, but with an undercurrent of gentle chiding that makes my skin prickle. "You shouldn't be so close to the training yards. With Syrex's return, and with Vaynar and Nicera at her side, no place is truly safe." She reaches out, her hand moving in a familiar automatic gesture to smooth a stray piece of my hair, an act she has been performing since I was a child clinging to her skirts. A hot, rebellious fire surges through me. I flinch away, a small, sharp movement of pure, adolescent rebellion that feels both necessary and instantly regrettable. Her hand freezes in midair, a look of profound, maternal hurt flashing in her grey eyes. "I am not just a child, Solène," I say, my voice cold and hard, a stranger in my own throat. "I do not need a keeper." The words are cruel, and I know it the moment they leave my mouth. Beside me, Arizel lets out a low, almost inaudible whistle. The hurt in Solène's eyes deepens, replaced by a weary, sad resignation that is somehow even worse. "I know you are not," she says softly, her voice a quiet, aching thing. "But you are the hope of this new age, Mira. You are the living proof that we were right. And I will not see that hope extinguished, because you are too proud to be careful." She turns and walks away, her proud, queenly posture looking for the first time impossibly fragile. A wave of hot, suffocating guilt washes over me, so forceful it almost brings me to my knees. But beneath it, a small, fierce and ugly part of me feels a sense of triumph. I have drawn a line. I have asserted my own will. I have finally, truly hurt her. And it feels like a victory that costs more than I can ever bear to repay. The scriptorium is my sanctuary. The quiet, the smell of old parchment and ink, the steady, calming presence of Isolde. It is the one place in this city where I do not feel like a symbol. It is a place of facts, of histories, of truths that are not shaded by love or fear. I find her at her desk, a small island of focused calm in a sea of ancient lore, her quill scratching a steady, rhythmic song against the thick parchment. The air smells of dust and beeswax, a comforting aroma of things that endure. She looks up as I approach, and her grey-green eyes, as sharp and as knowing as any Vracken's, see everything. My guilt, my frustration, my shame. She does not speak. She simply gestures to the chair across from her, a silent invitation to unburden myself. But the words are a tangled knot in my throat. I cannot confess my cruelty to the one person who has always treated me with such unwavering, intellectual respect. Instead of pressing, she reaches into a small, carved wooden box on her desk, its surface worn smooth by years of use. She pulls out a familiar object, a small, cool weight, and places it in my hand. It is the snowflake charm, the one she gave me, the one that now hangs from a leather cord around my neck. A constant, tangible reminder of her faith in me. A snowflake is not a warrior, Mira, she says, her voice a quiet, academic murmur that is a balm to my raw emotions. It is not a sword. It does not command armies or win battles through brute force. She gently closes my fingers around the charm, its smooth, cool surface a grounding reality in the storm of my feelings. Its strength is in its design, its uniqueness. It is a fragile, perfect thing that, when joined with others, can become an avalanche, a force of nature that can bury mountains. Patience, little wolf. Find your design. The rest will follow. Her words are not a comfort. They are a challenge, a quiet, intellectual puzzle that my restless heart is not yet ready to solve. But I take the charm, clutching it in my fist, and the simple, solid reality of it is an anchor. I am a design not yet complete. The thought is both terrifying and thrilling. That night I sit in my chambers, the silence a heavy, accusing thing. The rooms are fit for a princess, filled with fine silks, carved furniture, and 100 other gifts I have received over the years. They are beautiful. They are a testament to the love and the hope that have been poured into my life since the day I was pulled from the brink of death. And they are the most beautiful cage I have ever seen. I hold the small bone snowflake in my palm, its intricate geometric lines a stark contrast to the wild, chaotic storm in my own heart. I think of Arisel's cynical, prodding grin, a dare to be more dangerous. I think of Solenne's wounded, loving eyes, a plea for me to be more careful. I think of Isolde's quiet, patient faith, a challenge for me to be more thoughtful. They all love me. Their love is a fortress, built of the strongest materials in the world: pity, hope, and memory. It is a fortress built to keep me safe from the horrors of the world, from the Serexes and the Malachis and the Chirons that lurk in the darkness. But a fortress is also a prison. I look at my reflection in the dark, polished surface of the obsidian window, and I see the truth. I am the jewel of the court, the precious ward, the living symbol of a peace I did not forge. I am a story they tell themselves to feel brave, to feel that their sacrifices mattered, and I am suffocating under the weight of their love.
Chapter 4. Soren. My kingdom is a city of ghosts. I walk the forgotten tunnels of the underworks, the places the reformers have walled off and chosen to forget. Down here the air is cold and dead, thick with the smell of decay and the fine, gritty dust of 1,000 years of silence. The torch I carry does little more than push the oppressive darkness back a few feet, its flickering light catching on the skeletal remains of collapsed archways and the pale, ghostly faces of forgotten statues. This is my domain, a tomb for a male who is already dead. Up above, they light their candles and sing their songs of a fragile peace. Down here, the only sound is the crunch of my boots on fallen stone and the steady, rhythmic drip of water, a slow, eternal clock counting down the seconds of my exile. I am the cursed one, the monster they whisper about. I have cultivated their fear, nurtured it like a rare, poisonous flower. It is a more effective wall than any Drazian could build. Their fear keeps them out, and it keeps my ghosts in. I stop before a section of the tunnel that has caved in, a mountain of rubble and shattered stone that blocks what was once a grand corridor leading to the noble residences. My old residence. A cold, familiar ache, as sharp and as real as any blade, twists in my gut. I close my eyes, and the ghost that is always at my shoulder steps forward, its voice a silken whisper in the echo chamber of my memory. Her chambers 100 years ago. They smelled of night-blooming jasmine and the faint, coppery tang of old blood she always seemed to carry with her. I stood before her, my back straight, my face a mask of stone, my soul a knot of cold, helpless dread. She held a small, carved likeness of my daughter in her hand, a simple wooden toy I had made myself. My son, barely old enough to walk, was playing on a rug at her feet, oblivious to the serpent coiling in the room. My mate stood by the window, her face a pale, pristine mask of pure, silent terror. Sorexa turned the toy over and over, her long, pale fingers tracing the crude lines, her touch a caress that was also a threat. "Your loyalty is a beautiful, rare thing, Soren," she had said, her emerald eyes fixed on the toy, not on me. "As is your family, so fragile, so flammable." She looked up then, her smile a dazzling, predatory thing. "See that one never has to be sacrificed for the other." My eyes snap open, the memory a fresh, bleeding wound. The rage that follows is a familiar tide, hot and acidic, burning away the cold of the cavern. It is a helpless, impotent fury, the rage of a leashed hound that can only bare its teeth. She did not just command me. She hollowed me out, replacing my honor, my will, my very soul, with a pure, cold terror for the lives of my family. For a century I was her perfect, loyal weapon, my every action dictated by the unspoken threat against the ones I loved. My hand goes to the worn leather pouch at my belt, my fingers closing around the contents within. I pull them out. 3 small, broken pieces of carved bone, a wolf for my son, a star for my daughter, a moon for my mate. They were a set, a family crest of our own making, worn on cords around their necks. After Sorexa's exile, when I tried to flee this city to finally free them, she sent her assassins, not for me, for them. I found their home a pyre, their bodies ash, these broken charms the only thing left of the world she had used to control me. I clutched the broken pieces in my fist, their sharp edges digging into my palm, a welcome, grounding pain. This is my vow. This is my faith. I will never bend again. I will never be leashed again. I will never serve anything or anyone. I am a ghost, a curse, a forgotten thing in a city of fools. And I will remain so until the day she returns. And on that day, I will have my vengeance. The thought of her, the scent of her magic that I felt in the air, is a fresh torment. She's back. The butcher has returned to the slaughterhouse. A part of me, the part that still remembers the warrior I once was, screams to go up there to find her, to end it. But I am one male. She has returned with an army, with a power I do not understand. My vengeance cannot be a blind, suicidal charge. It must be a patient, calculated strike from the shadows she taught me to master. My bitter reverie is shattered by a sound. It is not the drip of water or the scuttling of a cave rat. It is the sharp, unfamiliar clatter of a dislodged stone, followed by a soft, panicked gasp of human breath. It is close. My hand is on the hilt of my sword before I have a conscious thought, my body melting back into the deeper shadows of the tunnel. Every sense is on high alert, the bitter, brooding exile gone, replaced by the predator whose territory has just been invaded. I move silently, a ghost in the ruins of my own life, my steps making no sound on the dusty floor. I follow the echo of the sound, my torch extinguished, the darkness a familiar, welcome cloak. I hear it again. A frantic scraping sound, a sob quickly stifled. It is a creature of the light, lost and terrified in my world of darkness. It is prey, and I am the monster that hunts in these shadows.
Chapter 5. Mira. The return of Syraxa and her lieutenants has poisoned the air. Every shadow seems deeper, every whisper a potential conspiracy. I stand near the dais, a silent observer in a gown of silver silk, and I watch the fear play out on the faces of the Vraken court. They are predators who have just remembered there is a bigger monster than them, and the sight of their terror gives me a cold, grim satisfaction. The rituals begin, the familiar, comforting rites of the reformed solstice now feeling like a hollow, desperate performance. Drazian and Solène lead the first toast, their voices steady, their hands clasped, a perfect, unbreachable wall of unity. But I see the cracks in their fortress. I see the tension in Drazian's jaw, the flicker of profound, weary sadness in Solène's eyes as she looks out over her fractured, terrified court. The goblets of snow and blood are past, but the gestures are hesitant, the words of partnership spoken with a new, hollow echo. This is not a feast. It is the last formal meal before a war. Lady Nisera moves through the tense hall like a serpent in a garden of dying flowers. She is more beautiful and more terrifying than I remember, her exile having sharpened her beauty into a feral, predatory edge. Clinging to her arm is the orc Gorbash, a mountain of green-skinned muscle and brutal, silent menace, his presence a deliberate, shocking insult to the assembled nobles. His tusks are yellowed, his eyes small and intelligent, and the low, guttural rumbles he makes as Nisera whispers in his ear are a constant, primal threat. She is not just a gossip anymore. She has teeth, and she is not afraid to show them. She stops near a cluster of wavering minor lords, her voice a sweet, venomous poison that I can just barely overhear. "Such a dreary affair, isn't it?" she coos, gesturing dismissively at the new unity chains. All this talk of choice and partnership, so weak. When the true queen returns, she will remind us of the beauty of true power, of a singular, glorious will. There is still time to choose the winning side, my lords. Her words are not a whisper, they are a proclamation, an open recruitment on the floor of the warlord's own hall. The lords shift uncomfortably, their eyes darting nervously toward the dais, toward Drazian's thunderous expression. But they do not move away from her. The poison is working. The fear she is selling is a more potent drug than the fragile hope Solène offers. A cold, chilling certainty settles in my bones. Something is about to shatter. The shattering comes not with the clash of steel, but with a sudden, magical dimming of the light. The 1,000 candles of the feast do not extinguish. Their flames simply shrink, their light turning a pale, sickly green. A collective gasp of pure, superstitious terror washes over the hall. Every eye turns toward the source of the magical disturbance, the great black mirror of the reflection pool. The surface of the water, usually as still and as dark as a void, begins to shimmer. A soft, ethereal light rises from its depths, a column of swirling mist that coalesces in the hall. The mist solidifies, sharpens, and then, with a final, breathtaking clarity, it becomes a face. Syraxa. It is a projection, a magical sending, but it is so real, so vivid, that it feels as if she is truly standing there. She is more beautiful than any story, any memory. Her black hair seems to suck the very light from the room, her emerald eyes glowing with a power that is both divine and deeply, terrifyingly wrong. She smiles, a slow, languid expression of pure, absolute confidence. "My children," she says, her voice not a shout, but a calm, seductive whisper that seems to caress every ear in the hall. "You have been lost in the darkness for too long. You have been led astray by the weak, by the sentimental, by the human filth that has poisoned your court. Her projected gaze seems to find mine, a cold, sharp, and deeply personal promise of the pain to come. But I have returned, she continues, her voice a siren song of power and glory. The true ways will be restored. The blood will flow again. Join me, and you will remember what it is to be strong. Defy me, and you will be the first offering at my new altar. Her image holds for a moment longer, her smile a final, damning verdict on their failed peace. Then, with a soft, dismissive sigh, she dissolves back into mist. The green light fades, and the candles of the feast return to their normal warm glow. The silence she leaves behind is a profound, ringing thing, a vacuum of pure, unadulterated terror. Suddenly, the world breaks. A single high-pitched scream of pure, fanatical joy rips through the silence from the traditionalist side of the hall. She has returned! The true queen has returned! It is a spark in a tinderbox. The fragile piece of the vigil feast shatters into 1,000 pieces. A sharp, ugly divide rips through the hall. Nobles are on their feet, shouting, screaming, some denouncing Syrexa as a traitor, others hailing her as a saviour. A loyalist lord draws his blade, and a reformist lord meets his challenge. The first clash of steel is a deafening final note in the symphony of our destruction. The feast erupts into a raw, brutal, and utterly chaotic brawl. It is not a battle, it is a riot, a civil war declared in the very heart of their most sacred hall. I stand frozen, the screams and the clash of steel a distant roaring sea in my ears. The war is not coming. The war is here. It has already begun. From the depths of the darkness of Protheka,
or clawing up from the realms of fantasy,
come the most fearsome beasts you have ever seen.
These monsters are done watching from the shadows.
Now, as they step into the light, something unexpected grips them.
Something even they can't fight off.
Love.
Vampires.
Demons.
Dark elves.
Gods.
Minotaurs. Creatures of light and dark.
They will protect their mates.
Do whatever needs to be done.
Morally grey heroes who will burn the world, to protect the women who love them.
10 audiobooks.
Fall into over 60 hours of fantasy romance.
20 ebooks.
Over 1 million words of these brutes who will protect their women.
Even if they might destroy themselves in the process.
Get the immersive Protheka fantasy romance bundle.
For 80% off, right now, dive into Protheka at a once-in-a-lifetime discount.
The first bundle to offer both ebooks and audiobooks on worldsofprotheka.com. Protheka's magic is eternal, and this Romantasy bundle will make it endless.
Chapter 6. Soren. The scent of her magic is a physical violation. It is a sickly sweet perfume of rot and power that slithers through the clean, cold air of my tomb, tainting everything it touches. It is a pressure behind my eyes, a bitter metallic taste on the back of my tongue. I know this magic. I know its feel, its texture, the way it seems to consume the very light from the air. It is the Purna-tainted power Syrexa bargained for, the dark energy she used to bind her followers and break her enemies. It is the scent of the cage I've spent years trying to forget. My hand tightens on my sword, the worn leather a familiar, grounding reality. She is here, not just in the city, but her influence, her very presence, is spreading, seeping through the cracks in the stone like a poison, a cold, professional fury. The fury of a hunter who has caught the scent of his sworn prey begins to burn away the fog of my self-pity. My ghosts are silent for once, their whispers drowned out by the single screaming imperative that has consumed my entire being. Find her. End her. This is not about vengeance for my family anymore. This is about purging a disease before it can consume this entire mountain. My hunt begins in the familiar darkness of the underworks. I move through the labyrinth of forgotten tunnels, a phantom in my own home, my senses stretched to their breaking point. I am listening not for footsteps, but for the subtle disturbances her magic leaves in its wake, the way the air grows colder in its presence, the way the natural rhythmic drip of water seems to fall silent as if in fear. I'm a ghost hunting a ghost, and the silence is my ally. Then I hear it. A sound that does not belong in my tomb. It is the sharp, ugly clang of steel on steel, followed by a human cry of fear, quickly stifled. The sounds echo from one of the deeper, more unstable passages, place no sane person, Fracken or human, would ever venture. My first instinct, the instinct of the exile, the cursed one, is to ignore it. It is not my fight. The city above can burn for all I care. My only war is with her. I am a ghost, and ghosts do not intervene in the messy, bloody affairs of the living. Let the wolves of this city devour each other. It is their way. I continue on my path, my focus narrowed to the scent of her magic, but the sounds of the fight continue, a persistent, irritating distraction. There is another clash of blades, followed by a shouted command in the old Fracken tongue. "Cut her legs! Pin her for the queen!" The voice, the words, the cold, brutal practicality of the command. It is a chilling echo from a past I cannot escape. I stop, my body frozen, my hand clenched on my sword. I know that command. I wrote that command. It is from the old training manuals, from the doctrine I myself created for Syrex's elite hunters a century ago. It is a tactic designed not just to capture, but to terrorize, to break the spirit before the body. A wave of black, suffocating rage washes over me. She is using my work. She is using the weapons I forged for her to wage her new war. The sins of my past have followed me even into this tomb, and their ghosts are now screaming in my ears. This is no longer someone else's fight. This is a personal insult, a desecration of my own dark legacy. I cannot stand by while the weapons I created are used in my own territory. I turn, my movement a silent, fluid thing, and melt into the deeper darkness, my own hunt momentarily forgotten. The prey can wait. First, I must kill the hounds she has unleashed. I am a phantom of death. I move through the darkness with a speed and a silence that is not of this world, my boots making no sound on the dusty floor. I find them in a small, collapsed grotto, the air thick with the scent of fear and exertion. Two of her hunters, their armor marked with her faded sigil, have a human girl cornered against a wall of fallen rock. The girl is young, her face streaked with dirt and tears, but there is a fierce, defiant fire in her eyes that is utterly out of place in this world of darkness and death. She holds a small, wicked-looking dagger, its edge gleaming in the faint light that filters down from a high fissure. But she is outmatched, exhausted, and moments from her end. I do not announce my presence. I do not issue a challenge. I simply emerge from the shadows behind them, a specter of silent, released violence. The first one dies without ever knowing I am there, my blade a whisper of steel that slides between his ribs and finds his heart. He lets out a soft, surprised gasp and slumps to the floor. The second one spins, his eyes huge with a sudden, dawning terror as he sees me. The ghost from the stories, a creature of curse and shadow made real. His fear is a brief, satisfying meal. I kill him with a single, contemptuous slash to the throat that opens him from ear to ear. The grotto falls into a profound, ringing silence, broken only by the drip of his blood onto the stone and the sound of the girl's ragged, terrified breathing. I turn to her, my sword still in my hand, my face a mask of cold, irritated fury. She is an intrusion, a complication. A piece of the bright, noisy, hated world above has just stumbled into my tomb, bringing its wars and its chaos with it. She stares at me, her eyes wide, her knuckles white on the hilt of her dagger. She is looking at me as if I am her savior. I will cure her of that delusion immediately. You have just traded one monster for another, I snarl, my voice a rough, unused thing. And in the face of her trembling, hopeful gratitude, I've never felt more like a beast.
Chapter 7. Mira. My breath is a ragged, tearing thing in my throat, a sound that is too loud in the sudden, profound silence of the grotto. My heart hammers against my ribs, a wild, frantic drumbeat against the stillness. The two hunters lie in broken, still heaps on the stone floor, their blood a dark, spreading stain that seems to drink the faint, ghostly light filtering from above. And standing between me and their bodies, a new monster, a different kind of darkness, slowly turns his head. That cold, dead light lands on me. You have only traded one monster for another. He snarls, his voice a rough, gravelly sound, like stones grinding together in a tomb. Recognition is a jolt of ice water in my veins, a memory so sharp and so deeply buried it feels like a physical blow. The face is older, more scarred, the long hair a tangled, silver-streaked mess, the eyes shadowed by a grief I cannot comprehend. But it is him. The tall, silent, terrifying figure who stood at Cyrex's right hand, the commander of her armies, the hound who enforced her every cruel decree, the face from my childhood nightmares. Sorin. The gratitude I should feel for my rescue does not just evaporate, it is burned away by a sudden hot surge of pure, righteous fury. This creature, this relic of the very tyranny we have all fought so hard to escape, dares to stand before me, pretending to be a saviour. He is the living ghost of everything I hate, everything we have fought against. I know who you are, I spit, my voice shaking with a rage that surprises even me. I push myself away from the wall, my dagger still clutched in my hand, my knuckles white with a pressure I do not feel. Cyrex's hound. I remember you, always lurking in her shadow, your hands stained with the blood of her enemies. I take a defiant step toward him, my grief for the war raging above, my terror for my own life, my confusion. It all funnels into this single perfect target for my rage. And where have you been while the rest of us were fighting to build a world out of the ashes you helped create? Hiding down here in the dark? Cowering in the ruins like a whipped cur while better people were dying for the cause you betrayed? His face, which had been a mask of cold, irritated fury, twists into a sneer of pure, undiluted contempt. He moves with a speed that is terrifying, closing the space between us in a single, fluid stride. He stops just before me, his sheer size an oppressive weight in the small grotto, forcing me to crane my neck to meet his furious gaze. The air around him is cold, and it smells of old leather and dust and a deep, profound bitterness that is almost a physical force. You know nothing, he hisses, his voice a low, dangerous growl that vibrates through the very stone beneath our feet. You are a child, playing at being a queen, a reckless, stupid little girl, drunk on the stories they tell about you, who knows nothing of war, nothing of sacrifice. His words are a slap, a brutal, casual dismissal of everything I am, everything I am trying to be. You speak of courage, he continues, his voice a low, merciless blade that cuts away all my self-righteous anger, leaving only a raw, exposed nerve. The courage to run blindly into the dark, the courage to lead Cyrex's hunters right to my doorstep, bringing her war into the one place she could not find me. That is not courage. It is arrogance. It is the pampered, privileged recklessness of a girl who has never had to truly fight for anything in her life. Every word is a perfectly aimed dart, and every one of them finds its mark. A hot, shameful flush creeps up my neck. A part of me, the part that still feels like a fraud in a princess's gowns, knows that he is right, and I hate him for it. I hate him for seeing the very weakness I have tried so desperately to hide. The sparks that fly between us are not of attraction. They are of pure, clean, and mutual hatred. This is not an alliance. It is a war, and we have just fired the opening shots. I am not a child, I snarl, my own fury, a desperate, wounded thing, my last defence against the terrible truth of his words. And I am not hiding. No, he agrees, his voice a soft, cruel purr that is more insulting than any shout. You are simply a liability, a symbol, waiting for her moment to be martyred. You are no different from the zealots who hunt you. You are all just looking for an altar to die on. His words strike the final, killing blow. He has seen the deepest, most secret fear in my heart, that I am nothing more than a symbol, and he has thrown it in my face. Before I can find a retort, before I can lash out with a physical violence I know I cannot win, a new sound cuts through the tension. It is a distant sound, an echo from the labyrinth of tunnels. A hunting horn. A single, clear, mournful note that is a declaration of purpose, a promise of the chase. The hunters are not just regrouping. They are organised. They are spreading out. They are beginning their search in earnest. The argument between us dies, extinguished by the cold, hard reality of our shared peril. Sorin's head snaps up, his furious gaze snapping away from me, his focus once again that of a pure, lethal predator. His hand clamps down on my arm, his grip rough and impersonal, his touch a brand of cold iron through the silk of my gown. "Move," he commands, his voice a low, urgent growl. He pulls me with him, away from the bodies, away from the faint light, and deeper into the oppressive, absolute blackness of the underworks. I stumble after him, my anger momentarily eclipsed by a new wave of primal terror. The darkness is a living thing, a suffocating presence that presses in from all sides. His hand on my arm is not a comfort. It is a cage, a grim reminder that I have escaped one predator only to be captured by another. We are two enemies, bound together by a shared threat, and the unwelcome, forced intimacy of our flight is a special kind of hell.
Chapter 8. Sorin. My hand is a cage around her arm, her flesh fragile and so terribly human beneath my grip. I pull her through the oppressive absolute blackness of the underworks, my every movement a silent, furious prayer for speed. Her words from the grotto are a fresh, bleeding wound in my soul. Sorexa's hound, cowering in the ruins. She has no idea of the truth, of the ghosts that haunt this place, the ghosts that haunt me. Her ignorance is a weapon she wields with the careless cruelty of a child, and it has found every scar on my soul. A part of me, the bitter, monstrous part, wants to let her go, to let the hunters have her, to let her learn the true nature of the war she thinks she understands. But the commander in me, the cold, pragmatic survivor, knows that her death would bring a wrath down on these tunnels that not even I could hide from. And another part of me, a part I refuse to name, a part that saw the fierce, beautiful fire in her eyes as she defied me, will not let her die. She's a liability, a clumsy, fragile creature of the light who stumbles on every loose stone, her ragged breaths a loud, panicked beacon in the silence. But she is alive. And in this tomb, that is a rare and dangerous thing. I feel her anger, her terror, her resentment, all of it a frantic, living current that travels up the iron grip I have on her arm. She is a storm, a chaos, a disruption to the perfect dead quiet of my exile, and I am the unlucky fool who has been tasked with containing her. I find us a sanctuary, a high, crumbling alcove, a shallow crack in the cavern wall that is barely large enough for one, let alone two. It is a place of absolute darkness, a pocket of silence where the echoes of the hunt might pass us by. I shove her inside first, her body scraping against the rough stone, and then I press in behind her, my own body a wall of hard muscle and cold leather that shields her from the open tunnel below. The forced, unwelcome intimacy of the space is a special kind of hell, a cage of a different sort. The main tunnel below is a river of absolute blackness. We wait. The only sound is the frantic, bird-like flutter of her heart against my back, and the soft, almost inaudible whisper of our own breaths mingling in the cold, dead air. The scent of her is a sharp human tang of fear and sweat, but beneath it there is something else, something clean and alive, like the smell of a summer rain on dry earth. It is a scent that does not belong in this place of dust and decay, and it is a slow, insidious poison to the perfect, cold emptiness of my soul. I'm a creature of silence and shadows, a ghost who has forgotten the feel of a living thing. And now, I'm trapped with one, her warmth a brand against my back, her life a steady rhythmic accusation against the dead thing I've become. I see them. A faint, flickering light appears far down the tunnel, a single, malevolent eye in the darkness. It grows, multiplies, becoming a procession of torches that cast long, dancing, demonic shadows against the ancient stone walls. They move with a fanatic's purpose, their blades drawn, their eyes scanning the darkness with a hunter's intensity. It is a patrol of Syrexa's zealots, her unbroken, and their faith is a palpable, killing energy that I can feel even from here. As they draw nearer, their voices rise in a low, rhythmic, and utterly chilling chant that is the heartbeat of their dark crusade. "Cleanse the corruption," they chant, their voices a unified, soulless chorus that seems to make the very stones vibrate. "Purge the weakness. The goddess thirsts." I watch them, my own body as still as the stone I am pressed against, the commander in me analyzing their movements, their discipline, their fervor. They are not the clumsy rabble from the feast. These are her chosen, her true believers, and they are hunting with a purpose that is as absolute and as uncompromising as a religion. I recognize their formation, the way they move to cover every angle, every shadow. It is a formation I designed myself a lifetime ago. The irony is a bitter, metallic taste in my mouth. As they pass directly beneath our hiding place, one of them, the leader, stops. He holds his torch high, his gaze sweeping the upper reaches of the tunnel, his eyes two burning crimson embers in the gloom. For a heart-stopping moment, I think he has seen us. I can feel the girl behind me go utterly still, her breath a frozen thing in her lungs. The leader's gaze passes over our alcove, and he sees nothing. But then he speaks, his voice a clear, ringing declaration of purpose in the sudden, echoing silence. "Find the symbol of weakness," he commands, his voice ringing with the absolute, unquestioning authority of a prophet. "The harlot of the new age. She is the unholy offering Maliki was denied. Her blood will purify the city and bring the true queen to her throne." He turns to his men, his voice dropping to a final, venomous command. "Find the girl. Find Mira." The words strike me with the force of a physical blow. A symbol. An offering. They are not just hunting a stray human who stumbled into their path. They are hunting her. Specifically, she is not a random casualty of this war. She is its objective. My entire understanding of the tactical situation, of my own role in this, shifts in a single catastrophic instant. She is not a liability I am forced to protect. She is the center of the entire board. I turn my head slowly in the darkness, my gaze falling on the girl who is pressed against my back. I see not the infuriating, reckless child who has been a thorn in my side. I see the key, the prize, the one piece Syrexa needs to complete her final, terrible victory. And in the face of that cold, brutal, and so terribly logical calculation, a new, unfamiliar, and so utterly irrational instinct takes root in the barren soil of my soul. It is not the instinct of a commander. It is not the instinct of a survivor. It is the raw, savage, and so beautifully simple instinct of a predator who has just found the one thing in this world he will not allow another to touch.
Chapter 9. Mira. The silence that follows our escape is a different kind of monster. It is a cold, suffocating thing, thick with the scent of old dust and the phantom stench of my own fear from the alcove. We are deep in the underworks now, a labyrinth of forgotten tunnels where the air is as still and as dead as a buried secret. Sorin moves through the darkness with a predator's silent certainty, his torch a single defiant eye against the oppressive black, and I follow in his wake. my every step a reluctant prayer that he is not leading me to a more private, more patient death. His words, his brutal, accurate assessment of my recklessness, are a fresh wound in my soul, and the shame of it is a heavier burden than my own exhaustion. He finds us in a defensible position. It is a small, high-ceilinged grotto that was once a minor pumping station, the rusted, skeletal remains of its machinery lying in twisted heaps like the carcasses of great metal beasts. There is only one entrance, a narrow tunnel that he can watch from the shadows. He says nothing. He simply points to a relatively clean patch of stone, a silent command for me to sit, to stay, to be the quiet, manageable liability he has already judged me to be. My body aches, my nerves are a raw, screaming knot, but the hot, clean fire of my earlier anger has been doused by the cold reality of the hunt. I do not have the strength to challenge him. I sink to the floor, my back against the cold stone, and watch him, a ghost in a city of his own making. The quiet stretches, a tense, unbreachable wall between us. He ignores me completely, his focus entirely on the dark mouth of the tunnel entrance, his body a statue of lethal, waiting patience. His silence is not a comfort, it is a weapon. It is a constant humming judgment, a reminder of my foolishness, of my status as an unwelcome intruder in his world of shadows and ghosts. I can still hear the zealot's chant echoing in my mind. Find the symbol of weakness. Find Mira. They are not just hunting a girl. They are hunting a concept, an idea, a thing to be sacrificed. And Sorin's words from the grotto echo right alongside theirs. A symbol, waiting for her moment to be martyred. The two voices, one of my enemy, one of my reluctant protector, have merged into a single, damning verdict on my entire existence. I am a thing, a relic, a story. The very truth I have been running from my entire life has just been confirmed by the two opposing sides of this war. The weight of it, the sheer, crushing futility of my own desperate struggle for an identity, is a physical agony. A single, hot and utterly furious tear traces a path through the grime on my cheek. I wipe it away with a vicious, angry gesture. I will not cry. I will not be the frightened child he already thinks I am. The silence is a cage and I am rattling its bars. But this time, the fight is not with him. It is with myself. I cannot bear the silence. I cannot bear his judgment. And most of all, I cannot bear the shame of my own reckless pride. The girl who snapped at Solène, who mocked Lord Valerius, who dreamed of being a hero. She is a fool, a child. And Sorin is right. I force myself to my feet, my muscles screaming in protest, and I walk to where he stands, a shadow in the shadows. He does not turn. He does not acknowledge me, but I can feel his entire body tense, a predator bracing for another attack. But I have no fight left in me, only a raw, bitter, and so terribly necessary truth. You were right, I say, the words a quiet, ragged admission in the dead air. The confession is a stone in my throat, a taste of ash in my mouth. In the grotto, what you said, you were right. This finally makes him turn. He looks at me, his crimson eyes narrowed in the gloom, his expression one of pure, suspicious disbelief. He is waiting for the trick, the trap, the sarcastic twist at the end of the sentence. I offer him none. My bravery, I continue, my voice a low, bitter murmur of self-loathing, was just a child's tantrum. I was so desperate to prove I wasn't a symbol, that I wasn't just Solène's girl, that I became a reckless fool. I put you in danger. I put myself in danger. And for what? For my own stupid, selfish pride. The confession is the hardest thing I have ever done. It is a surrender of the one weapon I have ever truly owned, my own defiant will. I expect him to sneer. I expect a cruel, triumphant, I told you so. I expect him to use my vulnerability as a weapon, to drive the blade of his contempt even deeper. But he does not. He is silent for a long, long time, his crimson eyes searching my face in the gloom, and for the first time I see not a monster, not a ghost, but a commander, a strategist, a male who has just been given a new, unexpected piece of information and is processing it with a cold, professional detachment. When he finally speaks, his voice is not cruel. It is flat, hard, and utterly devoid of emotion. It is the voice of a soldier stating a fact on a battlefield. "Pride is a luxury for peacetime, girl," he says, his voice a low, gravelly thing. "In a war, it is a liability. It gets you killed. It gets the people around you killed. The only thing that matters now is survival. The only virtue is being the one left standing when the screaming stops." He turns his gaze back to the dark maw of the tunnel, the conversation, in his mind, clearly over. His words are not a comfort. They are not an absolution. They are a lesson, a brutal, simple, and so terribly necessary lesson from a master of the art of survival. The war between us, the pointless, angry clash of my pride and his bitterness, is over. It has been replaced by a new, far more terrifying reality. We are not enemies. We are not allies. We are two soldiers, trapped in the same foxhole, waiting for the next barrage to fall. And the long and dangerous night is just beginning.
Chapter 10. Soren. The echo of the hunting horn is a death sentence. It is a sound of order, of discipline, of a hunt that will not be abandoned. It tells me these are not just zealots. They are Sorexa's chosen, her elite hunters, and they will not stop until they have their prize. My only thought now is survival. Theirs, and, regrettably, hers. I grab her arm, ignoring her sharp intake of breath, and pull her deeper into the labyrinth. The scent of her fear is a sharp, human tang in the cold, dead air, a scent I have not been this close to in years. It is an unwelcome reminder of a world I have tried to forget. We move for what feels like hours, a frantic, silent flight through a world of absolute blackness. I am the ghost she accused me of being, my steps silent, my knowledge of these forgotten ways absolute. She is a liability, a noisy, clumsy creature of the light, her stumbling footsteps and ragged breaths, a constant, irritating beacon in the dark. But she is resilient. She does not complain. She does not weep. She simply follows, her hand now clutching my arm, a silent admission of her dependence that is both a victory and a burden. I find us a sanctuary, a small, dry chamber hidden behind a collapsed section of an old aqueduct, a place so deep and so forgotten that not even the ghosts of this mountain remember its name. I finally release her, and the absence of her touch is a strange, hollow echo. The silence in our hidden chamber is a heavy, weighting thing. I take a piece of flint and steel from my belt pouch and light a single, precious torch. The sudden flickering light throws our shadows, long and distorted, against the damp stone walls. She huddles on the side of the small chamber, her arms wrapped around herself, her face pale and streaked with grime. The fire in her eyes from our earlier confrontation has been banked to a low, watchful ember of suspicion. I know the questions that are churning in her mind. I can see them in the hard, untrusting set of her jaw. "Why?" she asks finally, her voice a low, rough thing. "Why are you helping me?" "I'm not helping you," I say coldly. "I'm eliminating a threat that you, in your recklessness, led to my doorstep. Your survival is a tactical convenience. Nothing more. The lie is a familiar, comfortable armor, but it does not work. Not on her." She pushes herself to her feet, her exhaustion forgotten, replaced by a fresh wave of righteous fury. "Liar," she spits, and the word is a perfect, damning echo of her mother's defiance. "You could have left me. You could have used me as a diversion, but you did not. You are Sorexa's hound, and I do not trust you. I think this is a game, a trick, a way to deliver me to her yourself." Her accusation, the sheer blind ignorance of it, is a final, unforgivable insult. It is a spark on a fuse that has been burning for years. The cold, disciplined control I've maintained for so long shatters. A sound rips from my throat, a raw, agonized roar of pure, undiluted fury that has absolutely nothing to do with her and everything to do with the ghost she has just summoned. "You think I serve her?" I snarl, my voice a broken, ragged thing I do not recognize. I stalk toward her, and for the first time, I see a flicker of genuine, primal fear in her eyes. Not fear of the monster, but fear of the man. "You think I would lift a single finger for the animal who murdered my family?" The words, the final secret truth of my exile, fall into the silence of the chamber like stones into a black, bottomless well. My hand, shaking with a rage that is so profound it is a form of grief, goes to the worn leather pouch at my belt. I tear it open, and the contents spill into my palm. 3 small, broken pieces of carved bone. A wolf for my son, a star for my daughter, a moon for my mate. I hold them out to her, my hand a trembling, open wound. "She did not just hold my family hostage, little girl," I say, my voice becoming a raw, tearing whisper. "She made them my leash, and when she fell, when I finally saw a chance to break free, to get them out, she sent her assassins." The memory is a fire, a pyre that burns behind my eyes, and for a moment I am there again. The smell of smoke, the unnatural silence where my children's laughter should be. And in the ashes, only these broken, blackened pieces of the life she let me think I had. I look at Mira, at her pale, shocked face, and I let her see it all. The ghost, the leash, the fire, the ash. I let her see the raw, unmasked truth of the curse I truly carry. She stares at the broken charms in my hand, her eyes wide with a horrified, dawning understanding. The anger, the suspicion, the righteous fury, it all drains from her face, replaced by profound, almost unbearable empathy. She sees not Syrex's hound, but a man, broken and hollowed out by a grief she cannot possibly comprehend. She does not offer pity. She does not offer comfort. She does something far more dangerous. She offers a moment of pure, silent, shared humanity. She reaches out, her hand trembling slightly and her fingers gently, tentatively brush against the broken charms I hold. Her touch is not a violation. It is a benediction, a quiet acknowledgement of a pain so profound it has no words. The simple human contact is a jolt, a shock to a system that has been starved of any genuine warmth for years. I snatch my hand back as if I've been burned, the broken charms clattering to the stone floor. I cannot bear her empathy. I cannot bear her witness. I turn away from her, my back a wall of shame and fury, and retreat to the opposite side of the chamber, to the familiar, comforting shadows. I feel her gaze on my back, a quiet, steady weight. The hatred between us is gone, burned away by the raw, ugly truth. In its place is a new, tense, and deeply unsettling silence. It is the silence of 2 strangers who have just seen the deepest, most secret scars of the other. I don't know if I can trust her, but she, for the first time, has a reason to trust me, and that is a terrifying and utterly unfamiliar burden to bear.
Chapter 11. Mira. The silence between us is a new kind of darkness. It is heavier than the oppressive black of the tunnels, thicker than the dust of ages that coats my tongue. Sorin's confession, the raw, brutal truth of his family's murder, hangs suspended in the air, a ghost that walks between us. He moves ahead of me, his torch a small defiant star in the abyss, and I follow, my mind a storm of conflicting emotions. I see not just the Hound of Syrexa, but a man hollowed out by a grief so profound it has become a part of the landscape of his face. The hatred I felt for him, so clean and so simple, is now a complicated, tangled knot of pity and fear and a strange, unwelcome understanding. We move deeper into the forgotten places, the hunt for us a silent, waiting presence at our backs. The air changes. A new cold seeps from the high, narrow fissures in the rock, a damp, biting chill that is different from the cavern's natural cool. It is a wet, invasive cold that seems to cling to my skin, to sink into my bones, and it carries with it a faint, unnatural scent, like the smell of a winter night just before a blizzard, a smell of ozone and something ancient and wrong. I shiver, pulling the thin fabric of my gown tighter around myself, and I see Sorin stop, his head tilted, his nostrils flaring as he tastes the air like a wolf sensing a change in the wind. The cold comes upon us not like a slow change in the weather, but like an attack. A fine, biting snow begins to hiss down from the fissures above, not drifting, but swirling with a strange, malevolent purpose. It snakes down the corridors against the natural airflow, a seeking, sentient thing of ice and wind. This is not a storm. This is a curse. The torch in Sorin's hand sputters as the unnatural wind finds us, its flame turning a sickly, pale green for a moment before threatening to die completely. "What is this?" I ask, my voice a small, trembling thing against the rising howl of the wind. Sorin's face is a grim mask in the flickering, dying light. He looks up at the swirling snow, his expression one of grim, bitter recognition. "It is her breath," he snarls, his voice a dangerous growl. "Syrexa's magic. A Perna storm, meant to flush us out or freeze us where we stand. She knows we are down here." The words are a jolt of pure, primal terror. We are not just being hunted by zealots. We are being hunted by a goddess, by a storm that has her will, her malice, woven into every flake of snow. Sorin grabs my arm, his grip hard and urgent, and he pulls me into a desperate, stumbling run. The storm is at our heels now, a living, breathing monster of ice and fury, its mournful howl echoing through the labyrinthine tunnels, a promise of a slow, cold death. He finds us a sanctuary just as the last of my strength is failing, my limbs numb with the unnatural, soul-deep cold. It is a collapsed forge, a gaping wound in the side of the tunnel, its heavy iron door blasted from its hinges in some long-forgotten age. He shoves me inside, into the absolute tomb-like darkness, and pulls a massive fallen slab of stone to partially block the entrance, sealing us in. The howl of the magical storm is muted to a low, mournful moan, a beast scratching at the door of our tomb. The darkness is absolute. The air smells of cold iron, dead fires, and the faint, sharp scent of Sorin's own cold fury. I can hear him moving, a rustle of leather, the sharp scrape of flint on steel. A small, miraculous flame sparks to life, and he lights a small, fat-soaked torch, its warm orange glow a tiny, defiant sun in our small, dark world. We are trapped. The forced intimacy of the small space is a palpable, suffocating thing. He retreats to the entrance, his back to me, a silent, brooding sentinel watching the storm, and I am left with nothing but the sound of my own chattering teeth and the slow, heavy beat of my own terrified heart. The silence stretches, becoming more oppressive than the storm outside. He is a mountain of bitterness, a creature of pure, self-contained rage, and the silence is his shield. But I cannot bear it. I cannot sit here and freeze in a quiet, respectful terror. It is not in my nature. If I am to die, I will die on my feet, with a sharp word on my tongue. "Are you trying to outglow the storm, Sorin?" I ask, my voice a raw, chattering thing, but laced with a deliberate, mocking edge. "Because I think it's winning." I expect a snarl. I expect a cold, dismissive silence. I expect him to turn and glare at me with those dead, crimson eyes. What I do not expect is the sound that rips from his throat. It is a rough, choked, and utterly unfamiliar sound, a bark of pure, surprised air. It takes me a moment to recognize it. Laughter. It is a rusty, unused thing, torn from a place in his soul he has long since abandoned, but it is real. The sound is a shocking, profane intrusion, a spark of pure human warmth in the face of a goddess's magical despair. He turns his head slowly, and in the flickering torchlight, I see a ghost of a smile on his face, a crack in the perfect icy mask of his despair. The sound fades, leaving a new, more complex and dangerous silence in its wake. But the cold in the room feels a little less absolute. He has not just laughed. He has acknowledged me, not as a liability, not as a symbol, but as a fellow soul, trapped in the same storm. There isn't much left of the world after the orcs came.
Savage. Brutal. Merciless.
If you're a woman, you're property. Even to other humans.
What happens when an orc stakes his claim on a human woman? Who would dare to stop him?
Me.
Chapter 12. Soren. The ghost of her laughter is a strange, unwelcome warmth in the oppressive cold of the forge. It hangs in the air long after the sound has faded, a flicker of defiant life in a tomb that has known only silence and decay. I watch her from across our small, dark prison, my back pressed against the cold stone, and for the first time in years, I feel a crack in the perfect, icy armor of my bitterness. She is a fool, a reckless, naive child who mocks the very storm that is trying to kill her. And her foolishness, her sheer, unadulterated life, is a more potent and dangerous magic than any Sorexa has ever wielded. The unnatural cold of the Purna storm continues to seep through the cracks in our shelter, a persistent, searching tendril of Sorexa's malice. It is a cold that does not just chill the flesh, it seeks to extinguish the soul. I'm a creature of the Vrakan night, my body immune to the cavern's natural chill, but even I feel its bite. The girl, however, is human. Fragile. Breakable. She is huddled by the small, sputtering torch, her arms wrapped around herself, her body racked with a violent, uncontrollable shivering that makes her teeth chatter. Her skin, where it is visible in the faint, flickering light, is a pale, almost translucent blue. She is dying. A cold, professional pragmatism takes over. If she dies, I fail. Sorexa wins. Her survival is a tactical necessity, a means to an end. It is a cold, simple calculation, and I cling to it like a prayer as I rise and move toward her. The lie is a comfort. "Give me your hands," I command, my voice a rough, gravelly thing. She looks up at me, her eyes wide and clouded with the first hazy tendrils of hypothermia, but the defiant fire is still there, a stubborn, flickering ember. "Why?" she chatters, her voice barely a whisper. "So you can bite them off?" The gallows humor in the face of her own impending death is so utterly her that it almost cracks another laugh from my frozen soul. "Do not tempt me, child," I snarl, the words lacking their usual venom. I kneel before her, and without waiting for her permission, I take her hands in mine. They are like blocks of ice, her fingers stiff and unresponsive, the skin a deathly, waxy white. Frostbite. The old, familiar knowledge of 100 winter campaign surfaces, a ghost of the commander I once was. Her pain is a tactical problem, one I know how to solve. I begin to chafe her hands, my own calloused, scarred skin, a rough, abrasive warmth against her frozen flesh. The work is methodical, impersonal. I am a soldier tending to a wounded comrade. Nothing more. But the forced intimacy of the act is a slow, insidious poison. I'm holding her hands, the small, fragile bones, the delicate, ink-clean nails of a girl who has known scholarship, not hardship. I can feel the faint fluttering pulse beneath her skin, a fragile, desperate bird beating its wings against the bars of a frozen cage. The silence in the forge is absolute, broken only by the hiss of the storm outside and the soft, rhythmic rasp of my hands on her skin. It's the most intimate contact I've had with another living being in years, and it is a slow, meticulous agony. Slowly, agonizingly, a flicker of life returns to her fingers. The waxy white begins to recede, replaced by a painful, angry red. A low, soft gasp of pain escapes her lips, a sound that is a testament to her returning life. My work is done. I should release her, but my hands do not obey. They continue their slow, steady rhythm, an act that is no longer about survival, but something else, something I do not have a name for. She moves. Her hand, no longer a lifeless piece of ice, turns in my grasp. Her fingers, small and surprisingly strong, trail from my wrist up my arm, a feather-light touch of pure, unadulterated curiosity. Her touch is a searing brand of fire on my cold skin. She's not recoiling. She is exploring. Her fingers find the landscape of my past, the raised, jagged lines of the scars that cover my forearms, a roadmap of 100 battles and 1,000 betrayals. She traces the long, straight line of a dark elven blade, the puckered, circular mark of an orcish arrowhead. She's not just touching my skin. She's reading my history. My entire body is a knot of tense, coiled shock. I am a monster, a curse, the Hound of Syrexa. Vraken and human alike flinch from my presence, their eyes filled with fear and revulsion. No one touches me. No one has touched me, not with anything but violence, in years. And this child, this girl, she touches my scars not with horror, but with a quiet, fearless, and utterly devastating curiosity. The wall I've built around my soul, the fortress of bitterness and rage, does not just crack. It shatters, leaving me exposed, raw, and utterly, terrifyingly vulnerable. The heat that floods my veins has nothing to do with the cold. It is a fire, a storm, a chaotic, terrifying thing that threatens to consume me whole. It is the ghost of a feeling I thought had died with my family, a feeling of being seen, truly seen, not as a monster but as a male. And it is a pain more profound than any blade. I snatch my hands back as if I have been burned, the sudden, violent movement leaving a raw, empty space in the air between us. I rise to my feet and retreat across the forge, my back a wall of shame and fury, my heart a wild, frantic drumbeat in the sudden, ringing silence. I can feel her gaze on me, a quiet, steady weight, a question I cannot, will not answer. The fragile truce her laughter created is gone. In its place is a new, far more dangerous thing. A connection. A spark. I stare into the darkness of the blocked doorway, my fists clenched so tight my knuckles ache, and I pray to a goddess I do not believe in for the storm to end. I need the hunt to resume. I need the simple, honest clarity of a battle to the death. Because the war she is waging on the battlefield of my soul is one I do not know how to win. I have faced down armies, I have slaughtered traitors, I have survived the breaking of my own soul, but I have no idea if I can survive the quiet, fearless touch of this girl.
Chapter 13. Mira. The unnatural storm has passed, but it leaves behind a cold that has little to do with the temperature. It is the cold of a tomb, a silence thick with the memory of Syrexa's magic. We move through the darkness, two ghosts in a forgotten world, the brief, shocking warmth of Sorin's laughter, and the even more shocking intimacy of his touch, now a wall of unspoken tension between us. He is distant again, the mask of the bitter, brooding exile back in place, but it sits less comfortably on him now. I see the cracks. I know the man beneath the monster, and that knowledge is a dangerous flickering flame in the oppressive dark. "We need a better vantage point," Sorin says, his voice a low, rough thing that breaks the long silence. a place to see their patrols, to understand their movements. He leads me to a place of profound, echoing quiet. It is a vast, circular grotto, dominated by a great black pool of water so still it looks like a hole cut directly into the abyss. The reflection pool. I have only seen it once before, during a solstice rite years ago, and the memory of its sacred, terrifying stillness is a ghost in my mind. The air here is ancient and pure, smelling of clean, wet stone and the deep, silent heart of the mountain. It feels like we are trespassing in a god's private chamber. We find a position in the shadows of a high ledge overlooking the pool. The silence is a heavy, waiting thing. It is a place of omens, of truths revealed in the still water. I find myself staring down at our reflections, two small, ragged figures in a vast, dark mirror. A monster and a girl, forever bound by a war they did not start. I see the weariness in his posture, the raw, untamed grief that still clings to him like a shroud, and I feel not hatred, not fear, but a strange, fierce, and deeply unwelcome empathy. They used to say you could see your future in the water, I whisper, my voice a small, profane intrusion into the sacred quiet. He does not look at the pool. He keeps his gaze fixed on the tunnel entrance, his body a coiled spring of lethal readiness. I have no future, he says, his voice flat and dead. Only a past that I intend to bury. And then what? I press, my voice gaining a sharp, challenging edge. You will simply haunt these tunnels forever? A ghost in a city of the living? He finally turns his head, his eyes burning with a cold, dead fire in the gloom. My fate is no concern of yours, child. Everything is my concern now, I snap back, my own fury a welcome, familiar heat. Your past is hunting me, so yes, your fate is very much my concern. Our argument is cut short by a sound from the tunnel, not the slow, deliberate tread of a patrol, but the quick, silent scuffle of hunting boots on stone. They are here. They pour into the grotto not as a clumsy mob, but as a silent, coordinated unit of death. There are 5 of them, Syrexa's elite hunters, their movements a fluid, terrifying dance. They fan out, their blades drawn, their eyes scanning the shadows with a predator's certainty. We are not hidden. We are trapped. Stay behind me, Sorin growls, the words a low, rumbling command as he draws his own greatsword. But I am no longer the child who hides behind Selene's skirts. I draw my own dagger, its small, sharp blade a pathetic but defiant answer to their longswords. I will not be protected. I will fight. The first 2 come at Sorin, a whirlwind of steel and malice. He meets them with a roar, his blade a blur of savage, brutal economy. It is not a duel, it is a butchering, but it is a distraction. The other 3, their movements perfectly synchronized, ignore him completely. They are coming for me. I meet the first one's charge, my dagger a desperate, clumsy parry that jars my entire arm. His strength is overwhelming, his skill a universe beyond my own. He smiles, a cruel, predatory thing, enjoying my terror. But as he raises his blade for the killing blow, a flash of black iron crashes into his side. Sorin, he has finished his own fight, and is now a storm of fury at my back. Back to back, he roars, and I obey without thinking, my body finding its place against his, a small, fragile island in a sea of violence. We are a single, 2-headed creature of desperation and rage. His greatsword is a wall of impenetrable death, and my small dagger is a flash of surprising, vicious life, darting out to find the weak points in their armour, the gaps in their guard. A length of old, rusted chain lies on the ground, and I kick it, wrapping it around an attacker's ankle, sending him sprawling into the path of Sorin's blade. We are a symphony of violence. Our movements a chaotic but brutally effective dance. We survive. The last of them falls with a wet, gurgling gasp, his blood a hot, shocking splash against my face. The grotto falls into a profound, ringing silence, broken only by our own ragged, desperate breaths, and the soft, rhythmic drip of blood onto the stone. The still, black water of the reflection pool is now stained with the dark, swirling clouds of our victory. We are alive, we are breathing, and we are alone. The adrenaline, the terror, the sheer, unadulterated will to survive, it all coalesces into a single burning point of pure, raw emotion. He is still at my back, a furnace of heat, his body a solid, living wall that has stood between me and death. The silence stretches, filled with the unspoken truth of what we have just done, of what we have just become. I am trembling, not with fear, but with a strange, fierce and utterly overwhelming need. I turn sharply, decisive. He is watching me, his eyes wide and raw in the dim light, his face registering shock and a dawning, terrible understanding. The space between us is a live wire, a current of pure, unadulterated energy. I do not think. I do not plan. I act. I surge forward, my hands coming up to grip the front of his battered armour, and I pull his head down to mine. I kiss him. It is not a gentle thing. It is a raw, savage, and deeply furious act of possession. It is a claim, a declaration, a hot brand of fire on his soul. It is a scream of defiance against Syrexa, against the hunters, against the gods, against the very silence of this mountain. It is the kiss of a wolf cub who has just remembered she has teeth. For a single stunned heartbeat, he is a statue of iron and shock. Then, with a low guttural groan that is a sound of pure, absolute surrender, he yields. His arms come around me, his sword clattering to the stone floor, and he kisses me back with a desperate, hungry, and utterly devastating passion. We crash together, a collision of two broken, defiant souls who have finally found a language they both understand.
Sorry for the interruption. I know you were gearing up for a steamy scene, but it's way too hot for this platform.
If we want to keep sharing our stories for free, we have to abide by this platform's guidelines.
To get the full, unabridged audiobook, go to worldsofprotheka.com.
Browse through unabridged audiobooks, countless ebooks and bundles offered at a discount.
If the thought of me whispering all the dirty details into your ear isn't enticing enough, use discount code YouTube30 to get 30% off of all digital products.
Story after story, audiobook after audiobook, the Worlds of Protheka are waiting for you.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
But unabridged, it's unforgettable. We collapse together, panting, his arms wrapping around me as if he'll never let go. In the hush, with his finger still gently withdrawing, leaving me delightfully sore.
Chapter 14. Soren. I wake to the scent of blood and a profound, soul-deep silence. The adrenaline of the battle has faded, leaving a dull, throbbing ache in my muscles and the cold, hard clarity of a new day. The first faint light of the cavern's false dawn filters down from a high fissure, painting the grotto in shades of gray and silver. The bodies of the hunters are dark, still heaps in the shadows, their blood a black stain on the stone. And beside me, a warm, breathing reality in the cold tomb of my life, is Mira. She is asleep, her head resting on my shoulder, her body curled into mine as if she has known this place her entire life. Her face, in the soft gray light, is stripped of its fire, its defiance, leaving only a young, vulnerable beauty that is a physical ache in my chest. The memory of the night, of her kiss, of the raw, desperate, and beautiful violence of our passion, is a brand of fire on my soul. For a few short, stolen hours, she made the ghosts fall silent. She made me feel alive, and that is a sin I can never forgive. A wave of cold, suffocating regret crashes over me. It is a familiar tide, the one that follows any flicker of hope in my desolate world. I have failed. I have broken the only vow I had left, the vow to remain a ghost, to feel nothing, to bind myself to no one. I have allowed this child, this infuriating, beautiful, and so painfully alive creature, to breach the walls of my exile. And in doing so, I have put her in more danger than any of Syrex's hunters ever could. Everything I touch turns to ash. I try to pull away from her, the movement slow and careful, but the moment is shattered by the whispers of the ghosts she had silenced. They rush in to fill the void, their voices a chorus of my own damnation. I see my son's face, his eyes ripe with confusion that turn to terror. I see my daughter's hand reaching for me in the smoke. I see my mate's final, silent and utterly unforgiving gaze. I have dishonored them. I have betrayed their memory by allowing myself to feel, to want, to live, even for a moment, in a world where they are nothing but dust and broken charms. This girl, Mira, is not a partner. She is a future tragedy. She is a ghost waiting to happen. Syrexa will not stop. Her hunters will not stop. And my presence at her side, the presence of the Cursed One, is a beacon that will draw all the darkness in this world directly to her. I feel a cold, hard certainty settle in my bones. I saved her from the hunters. Now I must save her from myself. I will rebuild my walls, stone by bitter stone, and I will make them so high she can never scale them again. It is the only mercy I have left to give. She stirs, a soft, sleepy sound, and her eyes flutter open. For a moment, in the hazy space between sleep and waking, her gaze is soft, unguarded, a quiet, intimate question. Then she sees the cold, hard mask that I've put back in place, and her expression shudders, the warmth replaced by a familiar, cautious defiance. The air between us is thick with the unspoken memory of the night, a fragile, dangerous thing. I must shatter it before it has a chance to take root. I pull away completely, rising to my feet and putting a physical distance between us. I turn my back to her, my gaze fixed on the blood-stained water of the pool. That was a mistake, I say, my voice becoming a flat, dead thing, each word a carefully chosen stone for the wall I am building. A consequence of the battle, nothing more. I can feel her gaze on my back, a sharp, wounded thing. The silence stretches, and for a moment I think my cruel, simple lie has worked. A mistake, she repeats, her voice a low, dangerous murmur. You are the warlord's ward, I continue, my voice a cold, logical blade. A symbol of this new age. You deserve a champion, a hero of the light, not a cursed exile who crawls in the darkness. You deserve better than a man whose very presence brings nothing but death. I am trying to scare her. I am trying to push her away, to make her hate me again. The clean, simple honesty of her hatred is a safer ground than this fragile, terrifying landscape of shared vulnerability. She does not sound scared. She does not sound hurt. She sounds amused. A soft, low, and utterly infuriating laugh cuts through the silence. A mistake, she says, and I can hear the sharp, mocking grin in her voice without even turning to see it. Is that what you call it when you're terrified? You're not worried about what I deserve, Soren. You are afraid. You are a coward, hiding behind your ghosts and your curses because it is easier than having to actually live. Her words are a perfect, brutal, and utterly accurate dissection of my soul. She has seen the truth of my fear, and she is not just acknowledging it. She is mocking it. She rises up on her feet, and I can feel her presence at my back, a warm, defiant fire. You do not get to decide what I deserve, she says, her voice a low, steady, and utterly unwavering declaration that shatters my attempt to control the narrative. I will. I'm left stunned into a rare, profound silence. She is not the fragile, frightened girl from the tunnels. She is not a symbol to be protected. She is a force of will, an unbreachable fortress in her own right. And she has just declared war on the very ghosts I've used as my shield.
Chapter 15. Mira. Sleep is not a sanctuary. It is a battlefield. I am adrift in a black, silent sea, and from the depths they rise. Chains. They are not the honest iron of Arisel's bond or the pretty, symbolic silver of the vigil feast. They are things of shadow and malice, their links forged from whispers and regret. They slither around my ankles, their touch not cold but utterly void, a sucking emptiness that drains the warmth from my bones. I try to scream, but the sound is swallowed by the oppressive, silent dark. The chains multiply, wrapping around my waist, my arms, my throat, their weight a crushing, physical manifestation of every fear I have ever known. "You are a symbol," a voice whispers, a silken, venomous sound that is both Syrex's and my own. A pretty, fragile thing to be saved, to be protected, to be displayed. You are not a person, you are a story, and every story ends. The chains tighten, and I can feel my will, my very self, being crushed into a small, manageable shape. I am just a child again, helpless, voiceless, waiting for the knife. The darkness behind my eyes begins to fracture, and in the cracks I see her face, an emerald-eyed goddess of pure, triumphant malice, her smile a promise of an eternity in this cold, silent, suffocating dark. "Mira." The voice is a rough, gravelly intrusion, a stone thrown into the black, silent water of my nightmare. "Wake up." My eyes fly open, a strangled gasp tearing from my throat. The phantom chains are gone, but the terror is a cold, slick sweat on my skin. The world is a blur of flickering orange light and deep, oppressive shadows. The air is cold and smells of wet stone and old blood. I am in the grotto. The nightmare was a dream, but the fear is real. Sorin is crouching before me, his hand on my shoulder, his grip a hard, grounding reality. The firelight carves his face into a mask of harsh lines and deep shadows, his crimson eyes alight with an intensity that is not anger, but a grim, focused concern. "You were dreaming," he says, his voice a low, flat statement of fact. "It was her," I whisper, my own voice a thin, reedy thing. "Syrexa. She was in my head." "I know," he says, and the simple, grim certainty in his voice is more horrifying than any shared panic. "Her magic is a poison. It finds the cracks in your soul and seeps in while you sleep." He releases my shoulder, the sudden absence of his touch leaving me feeling cold and untethered. He rises and retreats to the far-reaching side of the grotto, putting the fire and a wall of his own making between us. "It will not be the last time." His words are not a comfort. They are a prophecy of a war to come, a war that will be fought not just in the tunnels, but in the landscape of my own mind. I push myself into a sitting position, my body aching, my soul a raw, open wound. The memory of the nightmare, of the suffocating chains, of my own powerlessness, is a fresh humiliation. It is the same feeling I have been fighting my entire life. The feeling of being a fragile thing that must be protected, a symbol that must be sheltered from the darkness. "I'm so tired of it," I say. The words a raw, broken whisper that I do not mean to speak aloud. Sorin looks at me from across the fire, his expression unreadable. "Tired of what? The running? The fighting?" "No," I say, my voice gaining a bitter, angry edge as the truth, the real truth, finally boils to the surface. Tired of being Mira, tired of being Selen's girl, the brave little human who survived. I am a walking, breathing memory, Sorin. A story they tell to prove that they won. I am not a person. I am a relic. The confession, the deepest, most secret shame of my heart, spills out of me, a torrent of words I cannot stop. Selen looks at me and sees the child she needs to protect. Drausian sees a symbol of his legacy. Arizel sees a cub she needs to toughen up. But no one, not one person in that entire city, sees me. Just me. I finally look at him, at this monster, this ghost, this creature of pure, undiluted bitterness. He is the only one who has no story for me. He has looked at me and seen only a reckless, naive, infuriating child. And in a strange, twisted way, it is the most honest thing I have ever known. He is silent for a long, long time, his crimson eyes fixed on me from across the fire. He is not looking at me with pity or contempt or any of the familiar emotions I am used to. He is looking at me with the quiet, profound, and deeply unsettling recognition of a fellow ghost. He sees the chains I am fighting against, because he has worn his own for centuries. When he finally speaks, his voice is a low, rough, and utterly final thing. It is not a comfort. It is not an absolution. It is a command. "Then be your own," he says. The words are a physical blow. 4 simple words that shatter the foundations of my entire world. They are not a suggestion. They are a verdict. An unlocking of a cage I did not even know I was in. Be your own. The thought is a terrifying, exhilarating, and utterly revolutionary concept. It is a declaration of a war I did not know I could fight. I look at him, at this scarred, broken, and so painfully alive man, and I see not a monster, but a mirror. He is a ghost who has chosen his own exile. He is a story who has refused to be read. He has given me not a solution, but a weapon, the only weapon that has ever mattered. The choice. The silence that falls between us now is not one of tension or of fear. It is a shared, quiet, and deeply dangerous understanding.
Chapter 16. Serene. I leave her by the dying embers of our fire, a solitary figure in a tomb of stone. The decision to scout the tunnels is a tactical necessity, a need to understand the enemy that hunts us. But it is also an escape. The shared silence between us, memory of her touch on my scars, the terrifying, fragile truce we have forged. It is a battlefield more dangerous than anything I have ever known, and I am a coward. In the familiar, honest darkness of the hunt, I can once again be the monster. It is a role I understand. I move through the forgotten ways with a speed and a silence that is a second skin. This is a homecoming. These are the tunnels where I trained Syrex's elite, where I taught them the art of the silent kill, the patient ambush. Every shadow is a memory, every echo a ghost. I pass a collapsed training grotto, its floor still littered with the splintered remains of wooden dummies, and a memory sharp and unwelcome rises from the dust. A young warrior, his face a bright mask of eager, youthful ambition, stands before me. "But Commander," he had said, "a strike to the throat is a cleaner kill." "A clean kill is a gift, boy," I had answered, my voice the cold, hard instrument Syrexa had forged. "We are not here to give gifts. We are here to inspire terror. A wound to the gut is a slower, louder death. It is a message to all who hear the screams. The memory is a taste of ash in my mouth. The boy I trained is likely one of the zealots hunting us now. The lessons I taught in Syrex's name are the very weapons being used to tear this city apart. The ghosts in this place are not just my family. They are the legion of monsters I myself created. My ghosts lead me to them. I catch their scent on the air, the faint, foul tang of unwashed bodies and the sickly sweet perfume of their fanatical faith. They are close. I extinguish my torch and become one with the shadows, a creature of pure, silent observation. I find them in a desecrated antechamber, a place that was once a small shrine to the first. Now, its ancient statues are draped in rags bearing Syrex's sigil, the air thick with the smoke of some unholy incense. There are more of them than I feared. A dozen, at least, their faces a mixture of grim, battle-hardened veterans and young, wide-eyed acolytes. Their new leader is not a warrior. He is a priest, a thin, serpentine Vrakin with the burning, feverish eyes of a true believer. He is a new Maliki, a new prophet for their lost cause. I cling to the shadows of the high ceiling, my body as still as the stone, and I listen. The first phase is complete, the priest hisses, his voice a sibilant, exciting thing. The city is in chaos. The warlord's attention is divided. He is fighting a war on the surface, a war of politics and fear. He is blind to the true battle, the one that will be waged in the heart of our faith. He gestures to the center of the room, where a crude map of the main caverns has been drawn in what looks like blood. The attack on the feast was a diversion, the hunt for the girl, a necessary errand. But the true reclamation will happen during the final silent hour. He points a long, pale finger to the one place on the map I have come to dread, the reflection pool. While the city is blind and deaf, we will strike. We will perform the rite of unveiling. The blood of the old believers, willingly given, will be poured into the sacred water. We will corrupt the pool, twist its purpose, and turn it from a mirror of the self into a conduit for her will. A cold, absolute horror, a dread more profound than any feeling I have ever known, washes over me. This is not just a plan to kill. This is a plan to defile, to possess the very soul of the city. I retreat, my mind a storm of tactical calculations and a new, unfamiliar terror. I understand her plan now. It is a masterpiece of psychological warfare, a stroke of pure, diabolical genius. She will not just conquer the city with force. She will break its spirit. The reflection pool is the heart of the new reforms, a symbol of introspection and peace. If she can corrupt it, turn it into a source of magical terror that broadcasts her own twisted visions of blood and fire into the minds of every Vraken in the city, the war will be over before the final battle is even fought. She will not just win, she will become their new goddess. My first instinct is the exile's instinct. Run. I will take the girl, and we will disappear. We will go deeper into the true dark, to the endless, unmapped labyrinth beneath this mountain, where not even Syrex's magic can find us. I can keep her safe. I can survive. It is the logical choice, the safe choice, the selfish choice. But as I stand in the darkness, the priest's venomous words echoing in my mind, a new voice rises to meet them. It's not the voice of a ghost. It is a quiet, steady, and so painfully alive voice, and it is hers. Then be your own. Her courage, her defiance, her absolute refusal to be a relic, to be a symbol, to be anything less than the architect of her own fate. It is a fire that has rekindled something in the dead, cold ashes of my own soul, a flicker of the commander I once was, a ghost of the honor I thought was long buried. To run is to let Syrexa win. To hide is to prove that I am nothing more than the coward Mira accused me of being. The choice is a blade at my own throat, to remain a ghost and survive, or to become a man again and walk back into the fire. I return to the grotto where I left her. She is awake, her back against the far wall, her dagger in her hand, her eyes wide and watchful. The fire has burned down to a bed of glowing embers, and in the soft, dying light she looks impossibly young, impossibly fragile. She is a symbol of the very hope I have come to despise, and she is the only reason that hope has a chance of surviving. She sees the look on my face, the new, grim resolve in my eyes, and she rises, her expression a question. The time for lies, for walls, for the bitter armor of my exile is over. They are not just hunting you, I say, voice a low, hard thing, stripped of all its usual bitterness. They have a plan. Syrexa. She intends to corrupt the reflection pool, to turn it into a weapon. She will break them from the inside out. I see the dawning horror in her eyes, the quick, intelligent mind piecing together the implications of my words. She understands the stakes. We cannot stay here, I continue. The words, a final damning verdict on my own exile. We cannot hide from this. I walk to the mouth of our small sanctuary and look out into the oppressive, waiting darkness that leads back to the city, back to the war, back to the world of the living. War waits for us above, Mira, I say, the sound of her name a strange, unfamiliar, and so terribly vital thing on my own tongue. And we cannot hide from it any longer.
Chapter 17. Mira. The journey back is a grim, silent pilgrimage. We move through the labyrinthine tunnels of the underworks, Sorin a dark, determined shadow leading the way, his torch a small, defiant sun against the oppressive gloom. The decision to return, the weight of his words, "War waits for us above," has settled in my bones, a cold, hard certainty that has banished my earlier fear. The time for hiding, for being the frightened girl in the dark, is over. Now we walk toward the fire. The air changes as we ascend. The dead, dusty silence of the deep places is replaced by a faint, unsettling hum that vibrates through the stone, the distant, discordant song of a city tearing itself apart. The scent of decay gives way to the sharp, acrid smell of smoke and the hot, coppery tang of fresh blood. We emerge from a forgotten service tunnel behind a row of scorched merchant stalls in the lower market. The scene is one of pure, catastrophic devastation. The festive, vibrant marketplace I remember is a ghost, a ruin of overturned tables, shattered goods, and the dark, still shapes of the fallen. A crimson velvet banner, meant to celebrate the feast, lies trampled in a pool of drying blood, its silver embroidery catching the hellish, flickering light of the few remaining torches. This is not the aftermath of a riot. This is the scar of a battle. The sounds are sharper here, the distant, rhythmic clash of steel, a single agonized scream that is cut brutally short, and the low, guttural roar of a Vrakan in the throes of battle fury. Sorin stops, his head tilted, his senses tasting the chaos on the air. My own heart is a frantic, terrified drum against my ribs, but my hand is steady on my dagger. We move through the ruins of the lower city with the caution of wolves in a hostile territory. Every archway is a potential ambush, every shadow a threat. We see the brutal, intimate work of Syrexa's war firsthand. A reformist noble I recognise from the council lies slumped against a pillar, his throat cut, his fine silks a dark, sodden mess. A small group of human servants, their faces masks of pure, mindless terror, are cornered by two of Syrexa's zealots, their blades raised for a senseless, brutal slaughter. Before I can even cry out, Sorin is a blur of motion. It is not a fight. It is a mercy. Two swift, silent heartbeats of his blade, and the servants are free to flee into the darkness. He does not look at me. He simply moves on, a ghost of death in a city of the dying. We finally reach the great hall. The sight that greets me steals the breath from my lungs. It is a true vision of hell. The beautiful, glittering chains of night, the symbols of our fragile peace, are torn from the ceiling, their broken links a tangled, murderous wreck upon the floor. The great hearth is a pyre, its flames licking at the ancient tapestries, sending plumes of thick black smoke to the cavern's high, dark ceiling. And in the centre of it all, on a floor slick with the blood of both sides, the battle rages. It is not a brawl. It is a war. Dracian's royal guard, a disciplined line of black iron against the frenzied, chaotic charge of Syrexa's loyalists. Amidst the maelstrom of steel and screams, my gaze finds them. Dracian and Solène. They are not on the dais, sheltered behind a wall of guards. They are in the storm, and the sight of them is a thing of such terrible, breathtaking beauty that it makes my heart ache. Dracian is not a king. He is a warlord, a whirlwind of death and fury, his greatsword a blur of silver and crimson as he cuts a path through the enemy ranks. He moves with the brutal, unstoppable force of a natural disaster, his every blow a final, damning verdict. He is the storm, and Solène is his eye. She is at his side, a dueling blade, light and impossibly fast in her hand. She is not hiding behind him. She is his partner, his other half, her movements a graceful, deadly dance that protects his flank. She parries a blow meant for his back, her blade a flash of light, and answers with a vicious, precise thrust that ends the threat before he even registers its presence. They are not my guardians anymore. They are not the loving, gentle figures of my childhood. They are a king and queen of war, a single, unbreakable unit of love and death, and the sight of them, fighting together for the world they built, fills me with a profound, gut-wrenching mixture of awe and a deep, terrifying dread for their lives. The spectacle of the battle, the sheer, overwhelming reality of the carnage, solidifies the abstract threat of Syrexa into a brutal, personal reality. This is not a story. This is not a legend. This is the world, and it is bleeding. The war is no longer a distant problem to be solved by heroes. It is here, and the people I love most in this world are in its heart, their lives a flickering candle in a hurricane. The restless, selfish girl who chafed at her gilded cage, who dreamed of her own battles, dies a quiet, shameful death in the face of this terrible, beautiful, and so very real war. Soren is beside me, a silent, grim presence. He is watching the battle with the cold, analytical eye of a commander, but I see the flicker of a fire in the depths of his crimson eyes, the ghost of the warrior he once was. I look from the chaos on the floor to the fierce, determined set of his jaw, and I understand. He has brought me back not to hide me, but to fight. The choice he offered me in the darkness was not about my own freedom, it was about theirs. My hand closes around the hilt of my dagger, its familiar shape a small, solid reality in this world of nightmares. My fear is a cold, hard knot in my gut, but beneath it, a new, grim resolve begins to take root. I will not be the symbol they die to protect. If I am to be a symbol, I will be one that fights at their side. I'm not sure if I am a warrior. I don't know if I have the strength. But I'm not a child, and my war is just beginning.
Chapter 18. Soren. The Great Hall is a war room. The scent of pine and ash wine is gone, replaced by the sharp metallic tang of blood, the smell of sweat and fear, and the acrid smoke that still drifts from the burning tapestries. Drazian stands over a massive table that has been converted into a battle map, his commanders giving clipped, urgent reports. The polite, fragile world of the reformers has been burned away, leaving only the cold, hard reality of steel and strategy. I stand in the shadows near the entrance, a ghost returned to a house I no longer recognize, and I despise every second of it. This is a cage of lies and whispers, and I feel its bars closing around me. The nobles who are not fighting give me a wide berth, their eyes a mixture of fear and a deep, abiding suspicion. To them, I am not a returning warrior. I'm a specter, a walking, breathing piece of Syrexa's dark history. My name is a curse they still whisper to frighten their children. Mira is a silent, resolute presence at my side, her earlier fear now tempered into a cold, hard anger that is a mirror to my own. She is the only reason I am here, the only reason I have willingly walked back into this den of snakes. A lull in the fighting, a momentary silence from the world outside, creates a vacuum in the hall, and in that vacuum, the snakes begin to move. Lord Vaynar, his face a grim mask of manufactured concern, steps into the center of the room. He is a master of this game, a creature who thrives in the fertile soil of fear and uncertainty. I watch him, my hand resting on my sword, and a low, familiar growl rumbles in my chest. He is a coward and a politician, and I have killed better males for saying less. Warlord, Vaynar begins, his voice a smooth, oily thing that cuts through the tense silence. We are besieged. Our enemies are at the gates, and I fear, within our very walls. His gaze, like a striking serpent, lands directly on me. We have welcomed an exile back into our midst, he continues, his voice ringing with a false, pious authority. Soren, her hound, He appears at the very moment of her return, a coincidence I find difficult to believe. He claims to have saved the girl, but I ask you, was it a rescue or was it a delivery interrupted? The accusation lingers in the air, a perfectly crafted piece of poison. He's using my past, my name, my very existence, as a weapon against the warlord. He's painting my return not as a reinforcement, but as the final insidious move in Syrex's grand plan. He is the serpent she has sent to poison us from within, Vaynar declares, his voice rising with a theatrical, fanatical fervor. He is her agent, her final betrayal. We must cast him out before he delivers us all to her dark altar, a cold, killing rage as pure and as absolute as a winter night descends upon me. The ghosts of my past are screaming in my ears. The urge to draw my blade, to silence his lies with the clean, honest truth of steel, is an almost overwhelming tide. But before I can move, before the rage can consume me, a new voice cuts through the tension. It is not a warrior's roar or a lord's command. It is the clear, cold, and utterly commanding voice of a girl I have fatally underestimated. You lie, Lord Vaynar. Mira steps forward out of my shadow, into the middle of the hall. She does not look at me. Her gaze is fixed, with a cold, contemptuous fire on the sputtering, surprised face of the noble. She is not a frightened child. She is not a symbol to be saved. In this moment she is a queen, and this is her court. You speak of serpents, she continues, her voice gaining a sharp, analytical edge that reminds me of the woman, Marion, who now stands at Dorian's side. But you are the one with the forked tongue. I was there, in the darkness. I was hunted by Syrex's zealots, zealots who spoke of a holy offering. And this male, she says with a sharp, defiant gesture in my direction, killed them. He saved me from the altar you and your true queen would have put me on. She takes another slow, deliberate step toward him, her small frame radiating a power that has nothing to do with physical strength. You are not a loyalist, my lord. You are a coward, a frightened, posturing old man who uses a woman's name as a shield because you have no courage of your own. Soren fought for this city while you were hiding behind your titles and your lies. She has not just defended me. She has eviscerated him. She has used the truth as a weapon, a blade of pure, irrefutable logic that has cut the legs out from under his entire argument. The council is stunned into a profound, disbelieving silence. They are staring at her, at this girl, this child, this relic, as if for the first time. And they are seeing not a symbol, but a leader. The silence is broken by a sob, not of grief, but of a profound, overwhelming relief. Solène rushes forward, her queenly composure shattered, her face a radiant mask of pure maternal love. She throws her arms around Mira, pulling her into a fierce, protective embrace. Mira, Solène weeps, her voice a thick, emotional thing. You are safe. I was so afraid. I expect Mira to melt into the embrace, to be the child Solène still sees. But she does not. She stands rigid for a moment, and then with a gesture that is both gentle and impossibly firm, she places her hands on Solène's arms and pushes her back. The rejection is not cruel, but it is absolute. I am safe, Solène, Mira says, her voice quiet but filled with a new, unbreachable strength. She looks from Solène's tear-streaked face to Drazian's stunned one, and then her gaze sweeps over the entire silent council. But I am not just a child anymore. The words are a final, quiet, and utterly devastating declaration of her own independence.
Chapter 19. Mira. My feet carry me to the one place that has always been a sanctuary, the scriptorium. But the quiet, sacred space I remember is gone. The heavy oak doors are splintered, hanging crookedly on their iron hinges, and the air, usually thick with the comforting scent of old parchment and beeswax, is now sharp with the smell of blood and something else, something acrid and magical, like ozone and rot. I step inside, my dagger in my hand, my heart a cold, heavy stone in my chest, and the world seems to tilt on its axis. The scriptorium is a ruin. Bookshelves have been overturned, their priceless contents scattered across the floor in a sea of torn pages and shattered bindings. A small fire smoulders in a corner, its smoke a black, greasy plume that coils toward the high, vaulted ceiling. And in the midst of the devastation, I find them. Lucerys is slumped against an overturned desk, a dark, spreading stain on his tunic, his face a pale, grim mask of pain. And Isolde. She is on the floor beside him, her scholar's robes torn, her hands pressed to a deep gash on his side, her face streaked with soot and tears. She is not weeping. Her expression is one of pure, concentrated, and utterly furious resolve. I rush to her side, my knees cracking against the scroll-littered floor. "Isolde!" I breathe, my voice a raw, broken thing. "What happened?" "Zealots," Lucerys grunts, his voice tight with a pain he is trying to conceal. "They were not trying to fight. They were trying to burn it all, to erase the records of the reforms." Isolde looks up at me, and the sight of her, my brilliant, unshakable Isolde, so broken and so fierce, shatters something deep inside me. "We stopped them," she says, her voice a low, ragged rasp. "But more will come. She is not just trying to conquer the city, Mira. She is trying to erase its memory." A wave of pure, helpless fury washes over me, almost causing me to choke. I look at the ruins of this place, this temple of knowledge. I look at Lucerys, a warrior of his stature, brought low by a pack of rabid dogs. I look at Isolde, her hands stained with the blood of the man she loves. The abstract horror of the war, the distant clashes of steel, it all becomes a sharp, personal, and unbearable agony. This is not a battle for a throne. This is a battle for a soul. "But how?" I cry, the words torn from me, a child's wail in the face of a nightmare I cannot comprehend. How can she be this strong? How can one person cause so much pain? She is not just one person. Dorian's voice, a low, grim thing, cuts through the smoky air. He and Marion stand in the shattered doorway, their faces masks of cold, controlled fury. Dorian's gaze sweeps over the devastation, but it is Marion who moves first, rushing to Isolde's side, her courtly training replaced by a simple, profound human empathy. "We need healers," Marion says, her voice a calm, steady anchor in the chaos. Dorian kneels beside Lucerys, his expression that of a grim, analytical commander assessing a wound. His eyes narrow as he looks not at the gash itself, but at the edges of it, at the strange, dark discoloration of the flesh. "This was no common blade," he mutters, his voice rumbling dangerously. "The wound is cursed. It will not close on its own." He looks up, his gaze finding mine, and in his eyes I see a flicker of a dark, bitter memory, a ghost from his own past. "This is her work," he says, his voice a final, damning verdict. "Her damned Perna magic." Silence. The word is not a command. It is a sonic boom, a whip crack of pure, unadulterated panic that shatters the tense quiet of the room. It is not Drazin's voice, or Arik's. It is Solenne's. She stands in the doorway, her face a beautiful mask of pure, absolute terror. I have never, in all my life, heard her use such a tone. I have never seen such a look in her eyes. The room freezes. Dorian looks up at her, his expression one of pure, stunned confusion. Even Arik and Arizel, who have appeared in the corridor behind the Queen, seem taken aback by the raw, naked fear in her voice. Solenne's gaze is fixed on Dorian, her eyes wide, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. The very air around her seems to tremble. The word she reacted to, Perna, hangs in the air between us, a sudden, terrible key to a lock I did not even know existed. Her fear is not of Sorexa. It is not a battle. It is of that single, unfamiliar word. And her terror, I realize with a jolt of ice-cold certainty, is not for the court, not for the city, not even for herself. She is looking at me, and her fear is for me. Earth is pretty much a desolate wasteland since the orcs came over from Protheka, and being a woman, the best you can hope is to be someone's property. Now, after my curvy body catches Korthar's eye, he'll claim me, and I'll serve him, in any way he pleases.
You're mine now. Listen to this story and more when you get the complete Orc Warriors of Protheka audiobook and ebook bundle.
40 books, 19 audiobooks, 19 ebooks. You even get 1 free novella and 1 free audiobook.
All for a shocking 90% off.
Protheka's magic is eternal, and the complete Orc Warriors of Protheka bundle will bring over 100 hours of that magic to you.
Chapter 20. Soren. The memory of the Queen's terror is a splinter in my mind. Silence. Her voice, a whip crack of pure, primal panic, echoes in my thoughts, a discordant note in the symphony of this war. It was not the fear of a queen for her city. It was the fear of a mother for her child. And it was triggered by a single unfamiliar word. Purna. The word hangs in my memory, key to a lock I do not yet understand, but one I know, with a cold, sinking certainty, leads directly to Mira. The ghosts of my own past have taught me that secrets are a currency, and the secrets you keep to protect the ones you love are the most dangerous of all. I am a commander. I am a strategist, and a leader whose fear overrides their reason is a liability. Solen's panic is a crack in the warlord's fortress, a weakness Sorexa will find and exploit without mercy. I must understand it, and there is only one other male in this entire cursed mountain who has tasted the poison of Sorexa's secrets and lived to tell the tale. The one male I despise almost as much as I despise myself. Dorian. I find him not in the war room but in his own lavish chambers, a place of silks and shadows that smells of ash wine and a quiet, well-tended despair. He stands before a great carved map of the surface world, a goblet in his hand, his expression one of a chess master staring at a board where all his pieces have been set aflame. Marion is at his side, her hand on his arm, her presence a quiet, steady anchor in the storm of his thoughts. They are a unit, a strange, beautiful, and so painfully alive thing that makes the ghosts on my own back stir with a bitter, ancient jealousy. We have a problem, I say, my voice like a rough, ungracious intrusion into their sanctuary. I dispense with the pleasantries. We are soldiers in a war, and we do not have time for the dance of courtly manners. Dorian turns, his crimson eyes narrowed, his usual charming mask firmly in place, but I can see the weariness beneath it. We have a great many problems, Soren. You will have to be more specific. The Queen, I say, my voice sounding hard. Her fear. I saw her face in the scriptorium when you spoke of Sorexa's magic. You used a word. Purna. What is it? Dorian's mask cracks. A flicker of a dark, bitter memory passes through his eyes, and he looks away, his gaze finding the fire. It is an old story, he mutters. A forgotten race of human women, gifted with a pure, innate magic. Sorexa was obsessed with them. I step closer, my presence a physical weight in the room, a demand for a truth he does not want to give. Obsessed how? Dorian takes a slow, deliberate sip of his wine, his eyes still fixed on the flames. She did not seek their knowledge, he says, his voice a low, bitter rasp. She sought their power. She hunted them, not to learn from them, but to consume them. To steal their magic and twist it into something dark, something she could control. That is the source of her new strength, Soren. She has found one, or she has found their secrets. She's not just a rockin' queen anymore. She's a parasite, wearing a god's skin. His words paint a picture of a horror beyond any I have imagined, a creature that consumes magic itself. But it does not explain Solenne's terror. It does not explain why her fear was directed not at the thought of Syrexa, but at Mira. I look at Marion, and I see in her sharp, intelligent eyes that she's following the same cold, hard line of logic. The pieces begin to fall into place, a slow, terrible avalanche in my mind. Mira's strange, fierce resilience, the way she seems to burn with a life that is more vibrant, more potent than any human I have ever known. The unnatural cold of Syrexa's storm, a magic that seemed to seek her out, to recognize her. And Solenne's love for her, a love that is more than just a queen for her ward, but the fierce, primal, and so terribly desperate love of a mother trying to hide her child from a wolf she knows is coming. The final damning piece of the puzzle crashes into place. The omen. The vision the zealots screamed of at the feast. The one Syrexa's magic tried to twist into a prophecy of her own return. The snow falling into the reflection pool. And an image, crowned in a white, purifying flame. Mira's image. It was not a lie. It was a truth. A prophecy that Syrexa was trying to steal for herself. The Porna are not a forgotten race. Their magic is not a lost art. It is here. It is a 19-year-old girl who thinks she is nothing more than a relic of a past war. Mira is Perna-born. The realization is not a slow, dawning thing. It is a physical blow, a jolt of ice and fire that steals the breath from my lungs. She is not just Syrexa's target. She is her opposite. She is the light to Syrexa's darkness, the pure, untainted source to her corrupted, stolen power. She's the only living thing in this world that can stand against her, and she does not even know it. I look at Dorian, and I see in his pale, shocked face that he has followed my same terrible, logical path. He understands. A new, heavy, and utterly terrifying silence descends on the room. We are the keepers of a secret that could either save this city or be the very thing that destroys the woman we have both, against all reason, come to care for. To tell her now, to place the weight of this world on her young, unready shoulders. It would break her. I turn and walk from the room, the weight of this new, terrible burden a heavier load than any I've ever carried. I find her in the ruined scriptorium, a small, determined figure, trying to salvage what scraps of history she can from the ashes. She looks up at me, a question in her eyes. I see not just the girl I have come to desire, but the weapon that can win this war, and the sacrifice that may be required to do so. I offer her a lie, a simple, reassuring nod. The truth can wait. For now, I will be her shield, and I will pray to the silent gods of this mountain that my protection is enough.
Chapter 21. Mira. We find a sanctuary in the ruins. It is a small hidden chamber behind the desecrated scriptorium, a place of quiet shadow that has been overlooked by the war. The air is thick with the scent of old parchment and the faint metallic tang of spilled blood, but it is a world away from the screams and the chaos of the main hall. Sorin bars the heavy stone door, and the sounds of the battle fade to a distant, mournful hum. We are alone, two ghosts in a pocket of silence, the adrenaline of the fight slowly draining away, leaving a raw, trembling exhaustion in its wake. He moves to the other side of the chamber, his back to me, a silent, brooding mountain of shame and fury. He is wrestling with his own ghosts, the ones I see in his eyes when he thinks I am not looking. The memory of his confession in the deep tunnels, the story of his murdered family, is a raw, open wound between us. But it is not the whole story. I know it. I can feel the weight of the other secrets he carries, the ones that are truly eating him alive. I cannot fight a war at his side with a wall of unspoken history between us. I need to know all of him. The monster and the man. Tell me, I say quietly, not the story of your family, the story of you, the story of Syrex's hound. He flinches as if I have struck him, a sharp, violent tensing of the muscles in his back. He turns slowly, his face a dark mask of pure, agonized torment, his crimson eyes burning with a self-loathing so profound it is a physical force in the room. There is nothing to tell, he snarls, his voice a low, broken thing. I was her weapon. I did her bidding. I have the blood of 100 innocents on my hands and 1,000 more on my soul. There is no redemption for what I have done. There is only the long, slow wait for the end. He is pushing me away, trying to frighten me with the truth of his monstrous past. But I am not a little child to be scared by tales of the dark. I have lived in the dark. I have seen the true face of monsters, and he is not one of them. Did you enjoy it? I ask, my voice a quiet, clinical blade. The killing? The terror? Did it make you feel powerful? The question is a brutal, unforgivable thing, and it strikes him like a painful physical blow. A raw, guttural sound of pure, unadulterated pain rips from his throat. He stumbles back as if I have physically wounded him, face a mask of pure, beautiful agony. No, he whispers, the word a shattered, hollow thing. It was a cage. Every life I took, every order I followed, it was another bar, another lock. I was a monster in a cage of her making, and the only thing I ever felt was the cold of the iron. He finally looks at me, and his eyes are stripped of all their defences, all their bitterness. I see only a soul that has been flayed, a man who has been forced to commit atrocities against his own nature, and who has never, not for a single moment, forgiven himself. The last of my anger, the last of my suspicion, the last of my fear, simply melts away, replaced by a wave of pure, fierce, and utterly overwhelming empathy. He is not a monster. He is a survivor, just like me, and his scars are just as deep as mine. I close the space between us, my movement slow, deliberate. He watches me, his eyes round with a raw, uncertain vulnerability. He expects me to recoil, to judge him, to cast him out. He is bracing himself for the final damning verdict. I do not speak. There are no words for this. Instead, I reach up, my hands trembling slightly, and I boldly, hungrily, wrap my fingers around the thick bulge straining against his leathers. He flinches, a sharp, violent tremor, but he doesn't pull away. My palm strokes the length of him through the fabric, feeling him harden further under my touch, a silent, profound acknowledgement of the desire he's carried, of the man beneath the monster, the beast beneath the scars. I'm not healing him. I'm unleashing him, truly claiming him, the raw power he's kept chained. He lets out a long, shuddering breath, a sound of pure, unadulterated hunger, and his head bows, his forehead resting against mine. The silence in the room is a charged electric thing, a tense space where two broken souls are, for the first time, not alone, but ready to devour each other. The kiss is not a choice. It is an inevitability. It is the final, perfect, and deeply necessary conclusion to the war we have been waging on each other's souls. It is not the savage, desperate clash from the grotto. It starts slow, but builds into a fierce, demanding storm. A vow, a promise, a command.
As much as Samara and I want to finish what these two characters have started, it looks like this chapter is about to get too hot for this platform to handle.
Unfortunately, we have to pause here because their guidelines won't allow us to reveal the spiciest details.
They keep bringing you these free audiobooks. We have to follow their rules.
But don't worry. You can experience the full, unabridged version over at worldsofprotheka.com, where the boundaries of passion and fantasy collide.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off any of our unabridged audiobooks set in the rich and immersive worlds of Protheka.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
With these scenes, it will be unforgettable.
In the quiet aftermath, We lie tangled together, our bodies slick with sweat, our breaths mixing in the cool, dusty air. The distant sounds of the battle are a faint, unreal echo from another world. In this small, dark room, there is only us. He is watching me, his crimson eyes no longer dead, but filled with a quiet, steady light that is for me, and me alone. He has shown me his ghosts, and I have not run. He has shown me his weakness, and I have not used it against him. I reach up and trace the line of his scar one last time. I am not weak, I whisper into the quiet, a final, defiant verdict on the girl I used to be. I look into his eyes, and I give him the same verdict, the same gift, the same truth. And neither are you.
Chapter 22. Soren. The feast is a maelstrom of screaming steel and shattered faith. The carefully constructed piece of the last few years dies a loud, ugly death, its corpse trampled under the feet of zealots and defenders alike. I am not an exile, no longer a ghost. I am a commander again, and this slaughterhouse is my home. My blade is a familiar weight in my hand, its song a hymn I know by heart. Mira is behind the guard's line, protected, and for the first time in years, I am free to unleash the monster I have kept caged. The battle is a study in chaos. Syrex's fanatics, the unbroken, fight with a terrifying suicidal fervor, their eyes burning with a martyr's fire. They are disorganized, their attacks driven by pure, unadulterated rage. But they are many, and their madness is a weapon in itself. They crash against the disciplined shield wall of Drazian's royal guard, a wave of mindless fury against a wall of unbreachable iron. But the wall is beginning to crack. The zealots are not without leaders. I see Vaynar, his face a presentation of cold political fury, directing a flanking maneuver near the dais. His words are the poison that gives their mindless rage a purpose. I move through the battle, a phantom of death in the chaos, my every blow a final, damning verdict. A zealot lunges at me, his eyes huge with a fanatic's certainty, and I kill him with a contemptuous ease that feels like coming home. A new presence is at my side, a mountain of black iron and silent, killing rage. Auric. We do not speak. We do not need to. We are two apex predators whose territories have overlapped, and we fall into a brutally efficient, unspoken synchronicity. He is a storm, his greatsword a whirlwind of unstoppable force, and I am the shadow that moves in his wake, my own blade a whisper of death that finds the gaps his brute force creates. He shatters a shield, and I slit the throat of the Vraken behind it. I parry a blow meant for his back, and he uses the opening to cleave his attacker in two. We are a symphony of slaughter, a two-man army of pure, unadulterated violence, and the zealots who face us break and fall like wheat before a scythe. In the middle of the battle, I feel a flicker of something I have not felt in a century, the grim, unspoken respect of a fellow warrior. He is a monster, but he is a magnificent one. Our deadly dance is effective, but we are only two males. The true heads of the serpent are still spitting their venom. My gaze finds her. Lady Nicera. She stands near the great hearth, a beautiful, venomous queen, her shrieking commands cutting through the din of battle. At her side, a living wall of green-skinned muscle and yellowed tusks, is the orc Gorbash. He is a beast of unimaginable strength, his massive cleaver-like blade, a meat grinder that pulps any guard who dares to get too close. Protected by her monster, Nicera is the tactical heart of this rebellion. She sees a weakness in the guard's line near the dais, a place where the defenders are spread too thin, and she directs a concentrated charge of her most fanatical warriors toward it. Her goal is clear: to break the line and overwhelm Solène and Drazian. She is the true threat. She is the mind, and the orc is the unbreachable shield. To stop the serpent, the shield must be broken. I look at Auric, and I see the same cold, tactical calculation in his eyes. We both know what must be done. but a charge against that beast would be a suicide run, even for us. Before we can move, before we can commit to the suicidal charge, I see a blur of motion from the shadows. It is Aracel, the thief. She is not a warrior. She is not a noble. She is a creature of the street, and she does not play by the rules of honorable combat. I watch a silent, stunned witness as she enacts a piece of brutal, pragmatic poetry. She does not charge. She creates a diversion, a shouted warning to a nearby guard that draws Gorbash's attention for a single, crucial second. In that second, she is a ghost. She slips into the chaos, a shadow at the orc's unprotected back. She does not engage in a duel. She does not make a sound. She performs an execution. With a movement too fast for the eye to truly follow, she uses the heavy iron chain that connects her to Auric as a garrote, not for a throat, but for a leg. She whips it around the orc's massive ankle and pulls with a force that is pure, leveraged physics. The giant stumbles, his roar of surprise turning to one of agony as she uses the opening not to attack his front, but his back. Her long, wicked-looking dagger flashes once, a swift, brutal, and deeply unheroic strike that severs the great tendon at the back of his knee. Gorbash collapses with a ground-shaking roar of pure, unadulterated agony, his leg giving out from under him. Nicera lets out a high-pitched, terrified shriek. Gorbash cries out one word, "Gustav." Aracel does not pause. She does not gloat. She steps over his fallen, helpless body, and with a final, swift, and utterly ruthless plunge of her blade under his jaw, she silences his roar forever.
Chapter 23. Mira. The battle for the Great Hall is no longer a strategic engagement, it is a meat grinder. The initial chaotic charge of the Zealots has broken against the disciplined shield wall of Drazian's guard, and the fight has devolved into a series of brutal, desperate skirmishes across the blood-slick marble floor. I am behind the main line of defence, a frustrating, helpless non-combatant, my small dagger a useless toy in this war of titans. All I can do is watch. I see the tide turn in a single brutal act of street-born genius. Aracel, a phantom of death in the chaos, hamstrings the great orc Gorbash, and Arik is on a screaming Nicera in a heartbeat, her venomous voice finally silenced. A wave of triumphant hope surges through me. The heads of the serpent have been cut off, but the body still thrashes. The unbroken, seeing their leaders fall, do not break and run. They fight with an even more terrifying, suicidal despair. Their goal is no longer victory, it is martyrdom. They throw themselves onto the blades of the royal guard, their eyes burning with a mad, ecstatic fire, their only purpose to take as many of the unfaithful with them as they can. The air is thick with the screams of the dying and the unending, brutal clang of steel on steel. The hope I felt a moment ago curdles into a cold, sickening dread. We are not winning. We are just dying more slowly than they are. A new kind of silence begins to fall. It is not the absence of sound. The screams and the clash of steel continue, but they become distant, muted, as if happening on the other side of a thick wall of glass. A heavy, magical pressure descends upon the hall, a physical weight that makes the air thick and hard to breathe. A cold, unnatural wind, the same wind from Syrex's Perna storm, sweeps through the chamber, making the torches gutter and threatening to plunge us into a final, absolute darkness. And with the wind comes the snow. It does not drift down from the high vents. It materializes from the very air in the hall, a slow, silent, and utterly impossible vortex of pure white flakes. It is a perfect, beautiful, and terrifying spiral that descends not onto the battlefield, but directly into the great, black, and miraculously untouched mirror of the reflection pool. Every eye in the hall, zealot and reformer, Vrakan and human, is drawn to the impossible sight. The battle for a single stunned heartbeat simply stops. The world holds its breath. The snow touches the surface of the water, and it does not melt. The pool does not ripple. Instead, the water itself begins to glow. It is not the sickly green of Syrexa's magic, but a soft, pure white light, an ethereal luminescence that rises from the depths, pushing back the shadows, bathing the entire blood-soaked hall in its gentle, holy radiance. An image begins to form in the glowing water. It is not a reflection. It is a vision, a three-dimensional figure coalescing from the light, a creature of pure, impossible magic. It is me. I stare, my heart a frantic, silent drum against my ribs, at the girl in the water. She is me, but she is not me. Her form is the same, but she is radiating a power, a serene, absolute confidence that I have never known. Her grey-green eyes are not filled with fear or anger. They are glowing with a pure, white internal fire. And around her head, flickering and dancing like a living thing, is a crown of silent white flame. The prophecy, the omen the zealots tried to twist for their own dark purpose, is made real. But the image in the water is not their queen. It is the human girl she came to destroy. A collective, shuddering gasp of pure, unadulterated awe washes over the reformist side of the hall. But from the zealots, a new sound rises. It is a scream, a wail of pure, soul-deep terror and a rage born of a shattered faith. "Blasphemy!" one of them shrieks, his voice a raw, broken thing. "It is a trick, a human witch's lie." But their words are hollow. Their faith is broken. They are staring at a miracle that has just damned their entire crusade. I can feel the tide of the war not just turning, but evaporating. From the dais, I hear a voice, a quiet, shaky whisper that is somehow louder than all the screams. It is Selene's. She is staring at the vision in the water, her face reflecting pure, terrified, and so terribly proud awe. "She's not ours," she whispers to Drazian, a mother's final, heartbreaking and beautiful surrender. "She's beyond us."
Chapter 24. Soren. The white light in the reflection pool fades, but the image of her, crowned in silent, perna flame, is burned onto the back of my eyes. A profound, ringing silence descends on the great hall, a vacuum of pure, superstitious terror that is more absolute than any silent hour. The battle is forgotten. The dead are forgotten. There is only the girl standing in the center of the chaos, and the impossible, holy, and so terribly dangerous truth that has just been revealed. The zealots are staring, their faces masks of shattered faith. The reformers are staring, their faces masks of dawning, terrified awe. They are all looking at her, and they are no longer seeing a girl. They are seeing a goddess, a weapon, a prophecy. My blood runs cold. I do not see a savior. I do not see a queen. I see a target. I see the woman I have, just against all my better judgment, allowed into the barren landscape of my soul, and I see a bullseye being painted on her back in letters of divine fire for Syrexa and every other power-hungry creature in this world to see. They will want to worship her, or control her, or consume her. They will build a new cage for her, one forged of reverence and prophecy, and it will be a prison more absolute than any Syrexa could have devised. A raw, savage, and deeply protective fury, a feeling so potent it eclipses all else, surges through me. I will not let them have her. Before the whispers can start, before the first noble can fall to his knees, before her story can be stolen from her and rewritten into a holy text, I move. I am a shadow, a blur of motion. My purpose a singular, burning point in the chaos. I cross the blood-slick floor in 3 long strides, and my hand closes around her arm. She flinches, her eyes wide and unfocused, still lost in the aftershock of her own revelation. She is trembling, not with cold, but with the fine, high-frequency vibration of a power she does not understand and cannot control. "Come with me," I growl, my voice a low, urgent command. I do not wait for an answer. I pull her from the hall, from the 100 pairs of staring, hungry eyes. The crowd parts before us, a sea of stunned, fearful faces. They are afraid of her, of the holy, terrifying thing she has become. And they are afraid of me, the monster who dares to put his hands on their new goddess. Let them be. We are not theirs. I pull her into the shadows, into a small, dark antechamber that is blessedly empty, and I kick the heavy oak door shut, the sound of a final, definitive severing from the world outside. In the sudden, profound silence of the small room, her strength gives out. The trembling becomes a violent shudder, a storm that racks her entire body. She looks at her own hands as if they are alien things, weapons she does not know how to wield. "What is happening to me?" she whispers, her voice a thin, reedy sound of pure, childlike terror. "Soren, what am I?" My heart, the thing I thought was a dead stone, cracks. She is not a goddess. She is not a weapon. She is a terrified 19-year-old girl who has just had a destiny she never asked for dropped on her, like a mountain. The commander in me wants to give her a tactical analysis. The survivor in me wants to tell her to run. But the man, the broken, hollowed-out man who has just found the one thing in this world he cannot bear to lose, does something else. I close the space between us, my hands coming up to frame her face, forcing her to look at me, to see the one truth that matters in this new, terrifying world. "You are not a goddess," I whisper, my voice a raw, fierce, and utterly possessive thing. "You are not prey. You are not a symbol for them to worship or a sacrifice for her to burn." I lean in, my forehead resting against hers, our breaths intertwining in the cold, still air. I give her the only truth, the only faith, the only answer I have left. "You are mine." I kiss her. It is not a kiss of comfort. It is a brand, a claim, a furious, desperate, and possessive act of anchoring her to the only reality I will allow. I am a ghost, a minion of the dark, but in this moment I am her only harbor in a sea of divine fire. She does not just accept the kiss. She answers it. Her hands come up to grip my armor, her body pressing into mine, her own kiss a fierce, desperate, and powerful declaration. It is not a surrender, it is a choice, a final, beautiful, and utterly defiant claiming of her own will. She's not just accepting my claim, she's making her own. "Yours," her kiss says, "because I choose it." The world dissolves into a storm of sensation, a frantic, beautiful, and so terribly vital act of two souls clinging to each other in the heart of a hurricane. This is not the slow, healing tenderness of our last encounter. This is a fierce, desperate, and profoundly necessary act of mutual possession. It is a vow against the gods, against the prophecies, against the entire world that would seek to tear us apart. It is a final, perfect, and deeply human act of two warriors finding their anchor in the only thing that is real in this new, terrifying world, each other. In the quiet aftermath, we stand tangled together in the darkness, our ragged breaths the only sound. The fear in her eyes is gone, replaced by a quiet, steady, and so terribly dangerous resolve. The war is not over. The greatest battle is yet to come. But now, she will not face it as a frightened girl, or a holy symbol, or a reluctant goddess. She will face it as a woman who knows who she is and who she belongs to. And that is a power that Sorexa will never understand.
Chapter 25. Mira. The silence in the great hall is a fragile, sacred thing, a held breath in the heart of a dying world. The vision in the pool is gone, but the ghost of its light, the memory of its white, silent fire, still clings to the air. My own blood is a humming, unfamiliar river in my veins, a new and terrifying song I do not recognize. Soren's arms are a fortress around me, his presence a solid, grounding reality in a world that has just dissolved into myth and prophecy. But even his strength cannot hold back the coming storm. The prophecy was not a victory, it was a declaration of war, and it has just painted a target on my back for every god and monster in this mountain to see. The fragile peace does not just break, it is devoured. It begins not with a sound, but with a feeling. A deep, unnatural cold seeps from the very stones of the hall, a creeping parasitic chill that leaches the warmth from the air, from the hearth, from my own skin. The low hum of whispered conversations falters and dies. The scent of pine and blood is replaced by the sharp, acrid smell of ozone and a deep, ancient rot, the smell of a grave freshly opened. A heavy, magical pressure descends upon us, a physical weight that makes the air thick and hard to breathe, a pressure that promises to crush the very life from our lungs. The darkness comes. It is not a natural dimming. It bleeds from the edges of the hall, a creeping, sentient shadow that swallows the torchlight, not by extinguishing it, but by consuming it. I watch as the flame of a nearby torch is not snuffed out, but is instead ripped from its wick, a screaming, silent thread of fire drawn into the encroaching void. One by one, the 1,000 candles of the feast are unmade, their light devoured by a hungry, absolute blackness, plunging the hall into a terrifying, magical twilight, lit only by a faint, sickly green luminescence that seems to emanate from the great, shattered entrance. She is there. Lady Syrexa does not walk into the hall. She descends. She is a vision of pure, exquisite malice, her gown of midnight black, a swirling vortex of shadow and captured, dying starlight. Her feet do not touch the blood-stained marble. She floats, a dark goddess returning to her desecrated temple, and the very air around her seems to bend to her will. At her back stand Venar, and a still shackled Nisira, their faces masks of triumphant, hateful glee. The great chains of night, the symbols of our fragile peace, begin to scream. It is a high-pitched metallic shriek of pure molecular agony as her dark magic washes over them. One by one the iron links, the crystal shards, the silver bonds, they do not just break. They turn to a fine black dust that drifts down around us like a final damning snowfall. The work of years, the hope of a generation, is unmade in a single contemptuous breath. Her gaze, a physical weight of pure, unadulterated hatred, sweeps past the warlord, past the queen, past the cowering nobles who have fallen to their knees. It finds me, and there it stops. "There you are," she says, her voice not a shout, but a calm, melodic whisper that is more terrifying than any roar. It caresses the ear, a sound of pure, intimate malice. The little relic, the symbol, the child who dares to wear a crown of stolen fire. Her smile is a beautiful, perfect, and utterly soulless thing. I have returned to reclaim what is mine, my city, my faith, my power. But first I will have the pleasure of extinguishing the little light that dares to defy me. A wave of black, corrupt energy, a physical manifestation of her will, erupts from her. It is a tendril of pure, living shadow that snakes across the floor, its movements not like a striking serpent, but like a caress, a slow, deliberate, and utterly confident unfolding. It's not aimed at Drazian, not aimed at Solène, it is aimed at me. I am a statue of pure, primal terror. My feet are rooted to the floor, my breath is a stone in my throat. I am a young child again, a helpless offering on an altar, and the knife is, at long last, coming for my heart. This is my end. A small, insignificant light, snuffed out by a hurricane of darkness. But I am not alone. Sorin moves, a smear of black iron and desperate protective fury. He shoves me behind him, his own body a shield, his greatsword a single defiant line of steel against the coming night. "You will not have her," he roars. his voice not the snarl of an exile, but the pure, unwavering declaration of a warrior who has finally found his cause. The shadow, the tendril of Syrexa's magic, crashes against an invisible barrier around him, a shield of pure, unadulterated will. He is holding it back. He is standing between me and a goddess. But I can see the strain on his face, the tremor in his arms. The shield is cracking. He cannot hold it for long. I look at his back, at this scarred, broken, and so impossibly brave man who is willing to be unmade for me. And the fear, the terror, the child who has been hiding in my soul for 19 years, finally, blessedly, dies. A new fire, the same quiet, white, and so terribly powerful fire from the vision in the pool, ignites in my blood. It is not a request, it is a command. Be your own. I place my hand on Sorin's back, and the warmth of my own power, a pure, clean heat, flows into him, steadying his shield. He lets out a sharp, surprised gasp, but he holds the line. I step out from behind his shadow. I do not draw my dagger. I do not raise my hands. I simply stand before her, trembling but unbowed, and I meet her burning emerald gaze with the quiet, steady light of my own. The war for the soul of this city is over. The war for the soul of the longest night is about to begin.
Chapter 26. Sorin. The world is a storm of black magic and screaming steel. Syrexa hangs in the air, a goddess of pure, exquisite malice, her laughter a melody that cuts through the din of battle. The last of the great chains have turned to dust, and a wave of her perna-tainted power washes over the hall, a physical force of despair that sucks the very warmth from my bones. My body remembers this feeling, the cold, cloying touch of her will, the taste of a cage closing around my soul. A pure, clean, and utterly liberating rage burns it all away. I am not her hound anymore. I am her hunter. The battle is no longer a chaotic brawl. It has a heart, and that heart is her. Her remaining zealots, emboldened by her presence, fight with a renewed, suicidal fervor. But my eyes are not on them. My targets are the heads of her serpent, the lieutenants who stand as her honor guard. I see Vaynar, his face no longer a mask of political cunning, but of pure, triumphant cruelty. He holds a blade as if he knows how to use it, his movements imbued with an unnatural speed, a gift from his Dark Queen. He is my first target. To get to the Queen, I must first kill her pawns. Auric is a whirlwind of death to my left, holding the main line, his great sword a blur of righteous fury. Our eyes meet for a fraction of a second across the battlefield, a silent, grim acknowledgement. We are the monsters they have unleashed. I move through the chaos, a ghost in a storm of my own making. My blade is a whisper of death, my movements the economical, brutal dance of 100 years of war. The zealots who try to stop me die before they can even register my presence. I'm not a warrior fighting for a cause. I'm a force of nature, a river of pure, focused vengeance. And Vaynar is the stone that stands in my path. He sees me coming, and a slow, arrogant smile spreads across his face. He believes the magic his queen has gifted him makes him my equal. He is a fool. Syrexa's hound! He sneers as I approach, his blade held in a clumsy textbook stance. Come to crawl back to your true master. I've come to bury her, I snarl. Then there are no more words. The duel is a pathetic, infuriating joke. His movements are fast, unnaturally so, but they are the movements of a politician, not a warrior. He has no rhythm, no grace, no understanding of the Song of Steel. He is a puppet, his strings pulled by a power he does not comprehend, and I am the blade that will cut them. I parry his clumsy, magic-fueled lunges with contemptuous ease, my own blade a blur of patient, condescending defense. I let him tire himself, let him believe he has a chance. I let the hope build in his eyes. Then, when he is overextended, his face showing a desperate, panting effort, I end it. I do not just kill him. I humiliate him. I disarm him with a flick of my wrist, his sword clattering uselessly to the floor. I kick his legs out from under him, and my boot finds his throat, pinning him to the blood-slick marble. He stares up at me, his eyes reflecting a final, dawning terror. "Tell your queen," I whisper, my voice a low, cold promise, "that I am coming for her." I press down, and the sound of his neck snapping is a quiet, satisfying note in the chaos. I turn from Vaynar's body, my gaze immediately seeking the true heart of the battle. And I see it. A tableau of pure, exquisite cruelty that makes the blood in my veins turn to ice. Sorexa is toying with her. Mira is not fighting. She is trapped. Great black tendrils of Sorexa's magic, living chains of pure shadow, have erupted from the floor, wrapping around Mira's ankles, her wrists, her waist. She is held fast, a beautiful, defiant fly in a spider's web. Sorexa floats before her, her expression one of a scholar studying a fascinating, but ultimately insignificant insect. She is not trying to kill Mira. She is trying to break her, to humiliate her, to show the entire watching court that their new fiery goddess is nothing more than a frightened girl who can be bound and broken like any other. The sight of those chains, those magical, possessive, suffocating chains, is a trigger that ignites a part of my soul I thought was long dead. It is the memory of my family, of the leash she held around my neck for a century. It is the raw, primal scream of a male who has sworn he will never, ever let another soul be bound again. A roar of pure, unadulterated, and utterly mindless fury rips from my throat, a sound that is not Vraken, not human, but something older, something more primal. The commander, the strategist, the patient hunter, they all burn away, leaving only the monster. I'm no longer fighting a war. I'm a singular, unstoppable force of will, and my will has only one name. Mira. I abandon my position. I abandon all tactical thought. I abandon everything but the single, burning imperative to get to her. I charge. I'm a blur of black iron and rage, a meteor of pure, suicidal devotion. Zealots who are foolish enough to stand in my way are not just killed. They are unmade, their bodies broken and thrown aside by the sheer, unstoppable force of my charge. I see Sorexa turn her head, her emerald eyes wide with a flicker of genuine surprise. She did not account for this. She did not account for the fury of a hound who has finally broken his own leash. I am not a ghost, no longer a curse. I am a promise. My voice is a raw, tearing sound, a vow screamed at the top of my lungs to the woman in chains and the goddess who dares to bind her. I will never let her bind you.
Chapter 27. Mira. Sorin's roar is a distant, fading thunder, a sound from a world I am not a part of. My world is a cage of silent, suffocating shadow. Sorexa's magic is not just a physical restraint, it is a poison of the soul, a methodical, intimate violation. The black, smoky tendrils that wrap around my limbs are cold, but they burn with the phantom chill of every fear I have ever known, every doubt that has ever whispered to me in the dark. They are not just chains. They are my own insecurities, given form and a terrible, crushing weight. I feel the suffocating pressure of Solenne's protective love, the heavy expectation of Drazian's legacy, the mocking echo of my own deep-seated fear that I am, and always will be, useless. The chains are a chorus of whispers, all in my own voice, and they are winning. You are a relic, they hiss. Their touch a draining, parasitic thing that saps the strength from my muscles. A story they tell themselves to feel brave. A pretty, fragile thing to be saved, to be protected. They tighten around my waist, squeezing the very air from my lungs. You are not a person. You are a symbol, an object. I see Sorexa floating before me, her beautiful face a mask of serene reptilian curiosity. She is not just binding my body, she is dissecting my soul, her emerald eyes seeing every crack, every weakness, every doubt I have ever held. She is unmaking me from the inside out, patiently, expertly, turning the very fabric of my being into a weapon against myself. The world dissolves into a grey, hopeless fog. I am a child again, helpless, voiceless, waiting for the knife to fall, and this time, there is no one left to save me. My fight is over. But the silence is broken. A new sound cuts through the fog of my despair. It is not a whisper, it is a roar. Sorin's roar. I will never let her bind you. The words are a physical blow, a bolt of pure, defiant, and so utterly real loyalty that shatters the landscape of my internal prison. It is not the voice of a protector saving a symbol. It is the voice of a man, a warrior, a partner, fighting for me. For the girl he sees, not the story the world has written for me. And his belief in me, in that single, desperate and so beautifully furious moment, is a spark in the dry, dead tinder of my own soul. The spark catches. It finds a flicker of my own buried rage. The memory of Isolde's words. Find your design. Sorin's command, be your own. My own desperate silent scream from the cage of Solène's love, I am not a child. They all converge, not into a thought, but into a single burning point of pure, incandescent rebellion. A rebellion not against Syrexa, but against the chains themselves, the phantom and the real. A rebellion against the girl who has spent her entire life waiting for someone else to break them for her. The fire that has been a quiet river in my blood my entire life, the strange, humming power I have never understood, awakens. And it is not a quiet thing anymore. It is a flood. It is a storm. It is a fire. The change begins not as a thought, but as a feeling. A deep, resonant hum that starts in the marrow of my bones. A silent song that my own blood is singing to me. It is a warmth, a pure, clean heat that rises to meet the suffocating, unnatural cold of Syrexa's magic. I feel it rush up my arms, my legs, my throat, a river of liquid light that is not a foreign power, but a homecoming. It is me. It has always been me. The shadow chains that bind me begin to smoke, to hiss, their dark, corrupted energy recoiling in agony from the pure, untainted fire that is pouring from my skin. The whispers of doubt are burned away, replaced by a single, silent, and absolute truth. I lift my hands, and they are no longer the hands of a girl. They are glowing with a soft internal white light, a flame that does not burn the world, but simply purifies it. A flame that is mine. I close my fists. The chains do not just break, they are unmade. The black, smoky tendrils that touch my skin do not snap. They dissolve, turning into a fine, harmless dust that drifts away into nothingness. Their magic, their poison, their lies. They are utterly annihilated by the pure white fire of my own will. With a final, silent scream of defiance that is not a sound but a wave of pure, radiant power, I rip my arms free. The last of the shadow chains vaporize into the air. The power, my Perna magic, flows through me, a river of light that washes away the last of my fear, leaving only a calm, cold, and utterly absolute certainty in its place. I stand in the hall, a creature of quiet, terrible, and beautiful light. The chaos of the battle has fallen into a stunned, reverent silence. I look at Syrexa. Her serene, confident mask is shattered, replaced by an expression of pure, uncomprehending shock and a dawning, beautiful terror. She has just witnessed an insect tear apart her web. The god has just seen the lamb become a wolf. "What are you?" she hisses, her voice no longer a seductive whisper, but a raw, ugly sound of disbelief and a profound, covetous hunger. The question hangs in the air, but she already knows the answer. Her shock curdles into a new, more potent emotion, a furious, possessive greed. She is not just looking at an enemy. She is looking at a source of power she has only ever dreamed of, a pure, untainted wellspring of the very magic she has spent her life trying to steal and corrupt. That power, she shrieks, her voice a raw, jagged thing, her composure utterly gone. It is mine by right. You are a vessel, an accident of a forgotten bloodline. You are mine. I look at her, at this beautiful, broken, and so terribly powerful creature, and I feel not hatred. I feel only a profound, weary pity. She has spent her entire life trying to steal a power that can only be claimed by letting go of everything else. I take a single, steady step forward. The white light of my own power, a soft, gentle aura around me, a silent promise of the fire to come. I am not a goddess. I am not a prophecy. I am not a symbol. Sorin's words, my words, our truth, is the only weapon I need. I am no one's.
Escape this world and step into one where romance and magic intertwine across realms, with stories that are not just standalone tales, but part of a vast, interconnected universe.
Imagine not just one, but 100 stories, where characters, destinies, and legends cross paths in unexpected ways.
100 audiobooks from the Romantasy 100 book bundle.
These aren't just isolated stories. They share themes, worlds, and threads that make every journey feel part of something grander.
Fated lovers, ancient prophecies, and the delicate balance between power and passion.
Get all of these stories today for a mind-blowing 90% off. That's right, 100 audiobooks for the price of 10.
800 hours of audio where these alpha males prove just how puny the human men of Protheka are. 12 complete series where they show their human women what they've been missing and more.
One-time purchase, lifetime access to a universe of interconnected magic and romance.
Protheka's magic is eternal. With the Romantasy 100 book bundle, your pleasure will be too. Chapter 28. Sorin. The world is a maelstrom of white fire and black shadow. Mira stands in the center of it all, a creature of impossible, terrible beauty, her body a source of pure, untainted light that holds Syrex's encroaching darkness at bay. My charge to protect her, the vow that is the singular, burning focus of my entire being, is momentarily forgotten, replaced by a profound, soul-shaking awe that borders on religious terror. She is not a girl anymore. She's a power, a force of nature, a dawn in the midst of the longest night. And she is magnificent. I watch a stunned, forgotten soldier on a battlefield of gods as she takes her first defiant step toward the Dark Queen who has haunted my every waking moment for years. The battle is no longer for a city. It is for the soul of this world, and it is being waged by two women, one of light and one of an endless, consuming darkness. This is a war I do not know how to fight. Syrex's face, a mask of perfect, exquisite beauty, twists into a snarl of pure, covetous rage. The shock of Mira's awakening has been replaced by a furious, possessive greed that is far more terrifying than her earlier contempt. She sees not a rival to be defeated, but a prize to be taken. A source of power she will now consume, not just extinguish. "You are an infant!" Syrexa hisses, her voice a blade of pure, venomous jealousy that cuts through the unnatural silence of the hall. A child playing with a fire you cannot possibly comprehend. You are an accident of a forgotten bloodline, a wellspring of power that you have no right to hold. She raises her hands, her long, pale fingers curling into claws, and the darkness around her seems to coalesce, to solidify. I will take that fire from your blood, little relic. I will drink it from your very soul, and I will use it to burn your new world to the ground. She does not just speak the threat, she gives it form. The shadows in the hall obey her will. They writhe, they coalesce, they are ripped from the very corners of the cavern and drawn into the air before her. They sharpen into a single massive spear of pure black, perna-tainted energy. It is pure, unadulterated death, a weapon designed not just to kill, but to unmake the very soul of its target. The air around it crackles with a negative energy, a profound cold that leaches the heat from the room, and the spear itself seems to drink the very light, a hole in the world that promises only oblivion. And it is aimed not at the warrior who stands before her, but at the heart of the woman who has just been born into her power. I move without thinking, my body a blur of pure, desperate, and utterly suicidal instinct. I am a ghost, a curse, a creature of the shadows, but in this moment, I am a shield, and my only purpose is to stand between her and the abyss. I charge, my greatsword a useless piece of iron against the coming storm, my mind a silent, screaming mantra of her name. Huh! Mira. Mira, Mira. But I am too far. The battlefield is a sea of chaos, a tangled wreck of bodies and broken steel, a treacherous landscape that slows my desperate sprint. I see the spear of black energy begin to pulse, to gather its final, killing force. I will not make it in time. My heart, a thing I thought was a dead stone, shatters with the certainty of my own failure. But I am not the only one who loves her. He moves with a speed that is a memory, a ghost of the warlord in his prime, a blur of silver-black hair and righteous, paternal fury. He is not a king anymore. He is not a general. He is a father. He is a mate. He is a living, breathing fortress of pure, unwavering devotion. He does not hesitate. He does not calculate. He simply acts. Drazienne throws himself in front of Mira, in front of Selene, who had moved to stand with her, his own body a final, absolute, so terribly mortal shield against the coming night. His great sword is held before him, not in a warrior's guard, but in a final defiant salute. The spear of black energy strikes. There is no sound, no explosion, only a silent, terrible consumption of light, a wave of pure, unholy power that washes over the dais. It hits Drazienne square in the chest, and for a single, horrifying heartbeat, he is a silhouette, a black shape against a wave of profound, soul-devouring energy. His body does not just fall, it is unmade. The great warlord Drazienne, the pillar of this world, the architect of this new age, the male who held this city together through sheer, unbreachable will, simply dissolves. The magic consumes him, flesh and bone and armor, leaving nothing behind but the faint, acrid smell of ozone and the sudden, screaming silence where a great man used to be. The world stops. The battle freezes. The zealots, the guards, the very stones of the hall, they all seem to hold their breath in the face of the impossible. The warlord is gone. A wave of pure, catastrophic despair, a force more potent than any of Syrex's magic, washes over the hall. The war is over. We have lost. Selene lets out a sound that is not a scream, but a low, guttural, and utterly inhuman keen of pure, animal grief, a sound that rips the soul from my own body. My commander's mind, the cold, hard, and so terribly cruel part of me that has kept me alive for centuries, takes over. It sees not the tragedy, but the tactical reality. The line has broken. The king is off the board. The asset must be secured. My grief, my rage, my own despair, they are luxuries I cannot afford. There is only the mission. Protect her. I reach her side in the stunned, silent chaos. Her face is a pale, beautiful mask of pure, uncomprehending shock. She is staring at the empty space where Drazienne was a moment ago, her mind refusing to accept the truth her eyes have just seen. I grab her arm, my grip a brutal, necessary anchor in the storm of her grief. "Mira, we have to go," I command harshly. "Now." I pull, trying to drag her from this place of death, but she fights me, her body a whip of pure grief-stricken fury. "No!" she screams, her voice a raw, tearing sound. "Let me go! We have to fight! For him!"
Chapter 29. Mira. The world is a silent, screaming void. The space where Drazian used to be, where the warlord of the Vraken stood as a mountain of iron and will, is now just empty. The air crackles with the ghost of Syrexa's dark magic, the scent of ozone, a sickening perfume that clings to the back of my throat. My mind, a fragile glass thing, refuses to comprehend what my eyes have just witnessed. He is gone, not dead, not fallen, unmade. The finality of it is a concept too vast for my soul to hold. I am adrift in a sea of pure, uncomprehending shock, my own body a distant, numb thing that belongs to someone else. Sorin's grip on my arm is the only thing anchoring me to reality, a brutal, painful pressure that is the only proof I am still alive. Then, a sound cuts through the profound, ringing silence. It is a sound of such pure animal grief that it rips the world back into focus. Selene. She is on her knees, her hands clutching the empty air where her husband, her mate, her other half, was just a moment ago. The sound that tears from her throat is not a queen's lament. It is the raw, guttural keen of a she-wolf who has just seen her mate torn apart. It is a sound that unhooks the soul from the bone. The grief in her eyes is not sadness. It is a fire, a black consuming inferno that burns away the queen, the mother, the gentle reformer, leaving only a warrior. She rises to her feet, her movements no longer the graceful flow of a diplomat, but the sharp, jagged economy of a killer. Her dueling blade, a thing of elegant silver, is a blur in her hand, its tip now pointing not at the zealots, but directly at the dark goddess who has just ripped her world in two. Syrexa watches Selene's transformation with a look of bored, clinical amusement. The death of the warlord was not a tragedy, it was a tactical manoeuvre, and it has succeeded perfectly. She turns her attention back to the true prize, her emerald eyes locking onto me with a renewed, possessive hunger. My shock, my grief, my paralysis, it is all a weakness she intends to exploit. The darkness coalesces around her once more, the shadows writhing, sharpening, forming a new weapon, a swarm of jagged obsidian shards of pure, corrupted energy that hum with a malevolent killing intent. This time, there is no single spear. This is a storm, a wave of death she will use to clear the board of all its remaining pieces. "Now, little relic," Syrexa whispers, her voice a silken promise of the end. "Let us finish this." Selene moves. She is a blur of crimson and silver, a Valkyrie of pure, beautiful grief. She is not charging Syrexa. She is charging me. She reaches my side in a single, impossible heartbeat, her face becoming a mask of fierce, terrible, and so utterly loving resolve. She shoves me, a hard, brutal, and so wonderfully alive push that sends me stumbling backward, out of Sorin's loosening grip, out of the direct path of the coming storm. She plants herself where I was standing, her back to me, her small, human frame a final, defiant shield. She raises her sword, not in a guard, but in a salute to the empty air where her husband died. Her final words are not for me. They are a whisper, a vow, a promise to the ghost only she can see. "Meet me in the abyss, my love." The storm of obsidian shards hits. It is not a wave, it is an annihilation. The sound is the shriek of 1,000 dying souls as the dark magic tears the very air apart. Selene does not cry out. Her body is consumed, not with the silent, soul-devouring finality of Drazian's end, but in a burst of defiant, beautiful, and so terribly final light. For a single, breathtaking heartbeat, she is a star, a supernova of a love so powerful it holds back the darkness for one precious moment. Then she is gone. My world does not just end. It is ripped from its foundations and thrown into a black, silent void. Drazian, Solène, my father, my mother. The two pillars that have held up my entire world, the two souls who took a broken, half-starved child and gave her a life, a home, a name. They are gone. It is a physical agony, a fire that ignites in the deepest, most secret part of my soul. It is a pain so absolute, so profound, that it burns away the girl I was, the child they saved, the relic they protected. It burns away everything but the raw, screaming, and so terribly powerful core of what is left. A scream rips from my throat, but it is not a sound. It is a wave of white, silent fire. The world dissolves into a sea of pure, incandescent light. The grief, the rage, the love, the loss, it all becomes a fuel, an accelerant for the Purna fire that has been sleeping in my blood for 19 years. The humming river in my veins is now a roaring, unstoppable flood, a supernova of pure, untainted magic that erupts from my very being. The last of my fear, the last of my doubt, the last of the child, is burned away, leaving only a calm, cold, and utterly absolute purpose. I stand in the middle of a column of pure white flame that does not burn, but simply is. Syrexa's dark magic, the shadows, the cold. It all recoils, hissing and screaming, as it is unmade by the purity of my own power. The great hall is illuminated not by torches, but by the light of my own soul, a dawn in the longest night. Syrexa stares at me, her beautiful face for the first time a mask of pure, unadulterated, and so very satisfying fear. She is no longer looking at a child. She is no longer looking at a relic. She is looking at her end. The girl she came to kill is gone, and the woman who stands in her place has come to burn Syrexa's world to ash.
Chapter 30. Soren. The Great Hall is a tomb, and the ghost of a queen's sacrifice is the only air left to breathe. Solène is gone. The light of her final defiant stand has faded, leaving a silence that is more profound, more absolute than any I've ever known. But in the center of that silence stands a new, terrible, and beautiful light. Mira. She is a pillar of pure, incandescent power, her grief and her rage forged into a weapon of divine fire. The child is gone. The ward is gone. In her place stands a goddess, her eyes not the gray-green of a human girl, but two stars of pure white flame. Syrexa watches her, her triumphant smile finally faltering, replaced by a look of pure, covetous hunger. The battle for the city is over. The battle for the soul of the night has just begun. My commander's mind, the cold, pragmatic engine that has kept me alive through 100 years of war, takes over. I see the battlefield with a stark, brutal clarity. The royal guard is shattered, the zealots a disorganized but still dangerous mob. Syrexa is the queen on the board, and Mira is the only piece that can challenge her. But a queen needs a guard. My gaze finds Auric across the ruined hall. He stands over the fallen form of Nysera, his great sword dripping blood, his face a resolute mask of fury. Lucerys is at his side, his arm bleeding but his stance unbroken. We are all that is left. The monsters, the exiles, the broken things who have found their final purpose in the light of this girl. I move to them, my own blade a heavy, familiar weight in my hand. We do not speak. We do not need to. Auric meets my gaze, a silent, final acknowledgement passing between two warriors who are about to die for the same cause. We form a desperate, last-ditch defensive circle around the dais, a living wall of scarred flesh and black iron between the world and the two goddesses who are about to tear it apart. Syrexa, seeing the new final lines of the battle drawn, lets out a low, musical laugh that is the most terrifying sound I have ever heard. She is enjoying this, the pain, the grief, the desperation. It's all a feast for her corrupted soul. Protect your little godling, she purrs, her voice a silken caress that slithers through the chaos. It will not save her. It will only give me the pleasure of watching you die at her feet. With a languid, dismissive wave of her hand, she unleashes her remaining forces. It is not just the last of the zealots. It is her personal guard, the ones who have been held in reserve, their armor a gleaming, unholy black, their eyes burning with the same dark fire that animates their queen. And at their head stands Vaynar, his face a triumphant mask of pure cruelty, his blade held with a new, unnatural confidence. They are not a mob. They are a disciplined, elite unit, and they crash against our thin, desperate line like a tidal wave of death. The battle is a maelstrom of screaming steel and shattered bone. I'm no longer a commander. I'm a storm, a whirlwind of pure, focused violence, my every move a final damning verdict. A zealot lunges at me, and I kill him without a thought. Vaynar comes at me, his movements fast, his blade a blur of dark magic, and I meet his charge with a roar of pure, contemptuous fury. I am not the haunted exile from the tunnels. I am Sorin, the hound of Sorexa, and he is nothing more than a pale imitation of the monsters I once commanded. Our blades meet in a shower of sparks, a chaotic, desperate dance in the heart of the storm. Auric is a force of nature at my side, his greatsword a blur of righteous, brutal power. Lucerus is a rock, his defense a perfect, impenetrable wall. We are the last of the old guard, the last of the monsters, and we will not break. From the heart of the bloody physical battle, I witness a war I cannot comprehend. It is a duel of gods, a conflict waged not with steel, but with the very fabric of reality. Sorexa's power is a tangible, corrupting darkness, a physical weight that leeches the warmth from the air, a living shadow that writhes and lashes out like a nest of serpents. It's pure, unadulterated entropy, a force that seeks only to unmake, to consume, to reduce everything to a cold, silent void. Her every gesture is a wave of despair, a promise of a final, absolute end. Mira's power is its perfect, beautiful opposite. It is a pure, cleansing light, a white fire that does not burn, but simply unmakes the darkness. It is a thing of creation, of life, of a will so pure and so absolute that the shadows cannot touch it. Where Sorexa's magic is a scream, hers is a song. I watch as a great black tendril of Sorexa's power, a thing of pure, solidified night, lashes out at her, and Mira simply raises a hand. A wave of white light erupts from her palm, and the shadow does not just recoil. It dissolves, turning into a fine, harmless dust that drifts away into nothingness. It is a battle of predator and prey, but the roles have been impossibly beautifully reversed. Sorexa, the ancient, all-powerful hunter, is now the one on the defensive. Her every attack, her every dark spell, unmade by a power she cannot comprehend and cannot corrupt. Mira stands in the devastation, a calm, serene island in a sea of her own holy fire, and she is not just fighting. She is purifying. She is healing the very air Sorexa has poisoned. I am a mortal soldier, a creature of mud and blood, holding the line so my god can win her war. Sorexa, realizing with a shriek of pure, frustrated fury that she cannot overwhelm Mira's raw, pure power with a direct assault, changes her tactics. She is a serpent, and a serpent always knows when to strike at a different target. With a final guttural scream of pure, concentrated malice, she unleashes a massive wave of pure, unadulterated darkness. But it is not aimed at Mira. It is aimed at us, at me, at Auric, at the last, desperate remnant of the resistance. It is a strategic masterstroke of pure psychological cruelty. A move to distract Mira, to force her to choose between her final attack and the lives of the men who are dying for her. The wave of darkness is a physical thing, a tsunami of pure, soul-devouring despair that rushes across the hall. I see Auric brace himself, his greatsword held before him like a final, defiant prayer. I see Lucerus stand his ground, his face a grim mask of honorable acceptance. I roar a final, useless challenge, my own blade held high, and I prepare to meet the wave, to be unmade as Drazian was, to die in the service of the one true thing I have left. But at the last possible second, a wall of pure, white, silent fire erupts from the ground before us. It is a shield, a curtain of pure, untainted Purna magic, and the wave of darkness crashes against it with a soundless, impotent fury. The black, corrupt energy dissolves, sizzles, and is unmade, leaving only the clean, pure light of Mira's protection. She has not just saved us, she has claimed us. I am a hound. And in this final battle, my role is not just to kill for her. It is to be the thing she is willing to protect. I stand in the warm, holy glow of her power, my sword ready. A mortal guard for a goddess who has just, in the face of all the darkness in the world, declared me her own.
Chapter 31. Mira. The silence in the great hall is a dead thing, a vacuum left by the echo of two great souls being torn from the world. Syrexa stands in the centre of the devastation, a goddess of ruin, her emerald eyes glowing with a triumphant, malevolent light. The grief in my soul, a wound so vast and so raw I should not be able to stand, does not break me. It transforms. The fire that now flows through my veins, the pure, white, and so terribly alive song of my Purna blood, consumes the pain, turning it not into rage, but into a calm, cold, and utterly absolute purpose. I am no longer Mira, the ward, the relic, the child. I am the vessel of this fire, and it has a will of its own. Such a pretty little flame, Syrexa purrs, her voice a silken, condescending caress. She is not afraid of me. She is intrigued, a connoisseur admiring a rare and beautiful gem she is about to crush into dust. A pure, untainted wellspring. It is a shame you do not know how to use it. Allow me to teach you your first and final lesson. She raises a hand, and the shadows in the hall obey. They are not the formless, grasping things from before. They are memories, given shape and a terrible, killing edge. I see Drazian, not as a king, but as a dissolving silhouette, his essence torn apart by her magic. I see Selene, not as a queen, but as a final, desperate burst of light, her sacrifice a silent, screaming accusation. Then, the vision changes. I see Sorin, his face a twisted mask of agony, his body pierced by a dozen shadowy blades, his final dying gaze fixed on me in a look of profound, heartbreaking failure. The illusions are a storm of my deepest fears, a psychological assault designed to break my will before the first blow is even struck. The phantoms of my grief rush toward me, their silent screams a poison in my mind. But the fire in my blood is not just a weapon, it is a shield. It is a truth so pure it burns away all lies. A wave of white, silent fire erupts from my body, and the shadows, the memories, the fears, they all dissolve into a harmless, drifting ash. I stand in the centre of a circle of my own making, a calm, quiet island in the sea of her malice. The fear is gone. The grief is gone. There is only the fire. Syrexa's beautiful face twists into a snarl of pure, frustrated fury. Her toys are broken. Her games are useless against a power that is not of the mind, but of the soul. She finally recognizes me not as a child to be tormented, but as a rival to be destroyed. "If you will not be broken," she hisses, her voice a raw, ugly thing, "then you will be consumed." She abandons her direct assault on me and turns her power, her full, terrifying, Purna-tainted might, upon the one thing in this hall that is as old and as sacred as she is. The reflection pool. A torrent of black, corrupt energy, a river of pure, liquid night, flows from her outstretched hands and pours into the great black mirror. The water does not just darken, It dies. It turns thick, oily and foul, the clean mineral scent of the deep earth replaced by the stench of an open grave. The pool begins to writhe, the water churning as if some great leviathan of pure, unadulterated evil is waking in its depths. She is not just destroying the pool, she is corrupting it, twisting it, turning the very soul of the city into a permanent conduit for her own dark will. I see her plan with a stark, brutal clarity. She will turn this sacred place into a wellspring of her own power, a font of darkness that will poison the city, break the will of its defenders, and ensure her reign for 1,000 years. The battle for my life is secondary. The true war is for this water, for the heart of this mountain. I am faced with a choice, a final, terrible test. Do I continue my assault on her, a direct duel of wills I am not certain I can win? Or do I turn my power to the pool, to the cleansing, to the salvation of the city's soul, leaving my own body, my own life, completely and utterly vulnerable to her final killing blow? Selene's final words to Drazian echo in my mind. Meet me in the abyss, my love. It was a promise, a vow of a love so absolute it defied death itself. My own vow, whispered in the darkness to a sleeping man, I don't want to trust you, but I do, is a fragile, new, and so terribly vital thing. It is a promise not of an end, but of a beginning, and a beginning is a thing worth saving. I remember Sorin's final gift, the broken chain, the ultimate symbol of my freedom. No chains, only choice. My choice is made. I turn my back on Sorexa. It is an act of such profound tactical insanity that for a single stunned heartbeat, even she does not react. I walk to the edge of the dying, corrupted pool, my own reflection a warped, monstrous thing in its oily depths. I close my eyes, and I reach down, not with my hands, but with my soul. I reach for the fire. I plunge my hands into the corrupted water. It is not wet. It is a physical agony, a soul-deep cold that screams and claws at my power, trying to consume it, to snuff it out. Sorexa's laughter, a triumphant, ecstatic shriek, echoes behind me. She thinks I have made a fatal error. She thinks the pool will devour me. She is wrong. My power is not a thing to be consumed. It is the fire that purifies. I do not fight the darkness. I do not push against it. I simply let go. The dam of my control shatters, and the full, untamed, and so beautifully wild flood of my Perna magic pours from my body, not as a weapon, but as a gift. It is a torrent of pure, white, silent fire that flows from my hands into the black heart of the pool. For a moment, the darkness fights back, the water boiling, hissing, a war of two opposing creation magics. But her power is stolen, a corrupted, parasitic thing. Mine is innate, it is a birthright, and it is absolute. The black, oily corruption is not just pushed back, it is unmade. A wave of pure, white, blinding light erupts from the pool, a silent, beautiful, and utterly final explosion. The light is not just a light, it is a mirror, 1,000 perfect reflections that turn the entire cavern into a hall of crystal and stars. Sorexa is caught in the blast. She shrieks, a sound of pure, soul-shattering agony as the purifying fire of the pool washes over her. Her stolen, corrupted power is the first thing to burn away, her beautiful form flickering, cracking, her dark magic unmade by the very source she sought to mimic. Her body, now stripped of its stolen divinity, begins to crumble, to turn to a fine black ash that is caught and then annihilated by the light. Her final emerald-eyed glare is fixed on me, a look of pure, uncomprehending hatred. Then she is gone. The last of her ash, the last of her shadow, the last of her memory is burned away, leaving only the clean, pure, and so beautifully silent light. The silence falls. The goddess's shadow has ended.
Chapter 32. Soren.
Dawn is a quiet, impossible miracle. It is not the faint, gray light of the cavern's usual cycle. It is the real dawn, the dawn of the surface world, a breathtaking cascade of silver and gold that pours through the great, shattered wound in the cavern ceiling Sirex's final death throes created.
The gentle, silent snow drifts down with the light, the delicate flakes turning to diamond dust as they pass through the beams. The air is cold, clean. It smells of wet stone and a profound, exhausted peace. The war is over. The longest night has finally truly ended. I stand in the ruins of the great hall amidst the survivors. We are a collection of ghosts. Our fine silks and hardened armor are all stained with the same uniform of blood and grief. I see Isolde, her arm in a sling, her face a mask of weary resolve as she directs the first of the healers. I see a grim-faced Lucerus, his body a fortress of quiet strength, standing guard over the bodies of his fallen warlord and queen. I see Auric and Aricel. Their infamous chain is a broken, forgotten thing on the floor, standing together not as a symbol, but simply as two people holding each other up in a world that has been unmade. My gaze finds her. Mira. She stands in the middle of the hall, her small frame illuminated by a beam of the new dawn's light, the white fire in her veins now a soft, gentle, internal glow. She's no longer a girl, no longer a goddess. She's a queen, and her kingdom is a city of ashes. As one, the surviving nobles, the guards, the servants, they slowly, reverently sink to their knees. A whisper begins, a new name, a new legend, a new faith, born in the fire of her victory. Mira the Dawnfire. A profound, soul-shaking wave of awe and a deep, aching pride washes over me. She is magnificent. She is a miracle. And she is a stranger to me now, a creature of light and power, a being who belongs to a history that is no longer mine. A cold, familiar loneliness, the ghost of my exile, begins to creep back into my soul. The war is over. The hound has served his purpose. There is no place for a monster in this new, brighter world she is about to build. She feels my retreat. Her gaze, which had been lost in the weight of her new reality, finds mine from across the hall. Her eyes are not the eyes of a goddess. They are the eyes of Mira, my Mira, and they are filled with a silent, desperate plea. A plea for me not to leave her alone in this new, terrifying landscape of her own making. The ghost of my exile hesitates. She must perform the final rite. The solstice is not over until the last link is forged, a symbol of the year survived, a promise of the dawn to come. It is a duty that falls to the new leader, a final, ceremonial closing of the circle. I see the weight of this new duty settle on her shoulders, a burden too heavy for anyone, let alone a girl who has just lost everything. The commander in me, the part that knows the importance of symbols, of tradition, of a story well told, takes over. I move to her side, a shadow at the shoulder of the dawn. The nobles watch us, their expressions a mixture of fear and a new, uncertain reverence. I ignore them. There is only her. The rite, I say roughly. It must be finished. She gives a small, almost imperceptible nod, her gaze still lost in the ruins of her old life. I lead her from the great hall, away from the bodies and the whispers, to the one place that is no longer a tomb, but a sanctuary. The reflection pool chamber. The great black mirror is still, its water now glowing with a soft, residual light, a faint, holy echo of her own power. The air is warm, clean, and filled with a profound, unbroken peace. This is her place, her cathedral. I find a single, heavy link of black iron amidst the rubble of a shattered chain. I carry it to a small, forgotten forge near the edge of the grotto, a place where the old chains were once made. I light the coals, their heat a welcome, familiar thing. I take up a heavy hammer, its weight a comforting, solid reality in a world that has become a dream. I will forge the last link for her. It is the last duty I can perform for her. A final act of service before I retreat back to my shadows. The hammer sings a final percussive song in the quiet of the grotto. The iron glows, it bends, it yields to my will. I'm not just forging a chain. I'm forging a memory, a final, perfect symbol of a bond. I quench the glowing metal in the holy water of the pool itself, and a hiss of steam rises, a final, sighing breath. The link is a perfect, unbroken circle, a symbol of eternity, of a bond that cannot be broken. I hold it out to her, the traditional offering of a mate, a silent question, a final desperate hope that there might still be a place for me in her new world. She looks at the chain, then at me, her eyes filled with a sad, profound, and so terribly wise understanding. She knows what this is. A cage. A beautiful, honorable, and loving cage, but a cage nonetheless. And her entire life has been a war against cages. I see the answer in her eyes before she speaks it, and in that moment I finally, truly understand. To love her is not to possess her. To love her is to set her free. The ghost of Syrexa, the memory of my own chains, the fear of my own past, it all burns away, leaving only the pure, clean, and so terribly painful truth of my love for her. With a final, silent vow, I place the perfect, unbroken link on the anvil. I raise the hammer, and with a single, sharp, and utterly final blow, I shatter it in two. The sound is a gunshot in the sacred silence, a breaking of the old world, a declaration of the new. I pick up the two broken, jagged halves, their sharp edges a welcome, grounding pain in my palm. I hold them out to her, the final, truest gift I can ever give. If I bind you, I say brokenly, I curse you. If I free you, I love you. She looks at the broken pieces in my hand, at the ultimate symbol of her freedom, and a slow, beautiful, and utterly defiant smile spreads across her face. She does not take them. Instead, she steps forward into my space, her body a warm, living, so wonderfully real presence. She takes my hand, the one holding the broken shards, and she turns it, pressing the two cold, sharp pieces of iron against the bare skin of my own chest. A final, silent, and absolute claim. No chains, she whispers, her voice a promise, a vow, a final, perfect truth. Only choice. And her choice is me. The last of my ghosts, the last of my fears, the last of my exile, simply dissolves, unmade by the quiet, absolute power of her will. The grief, the fury, the triumph, it all boils over, a wave of pure, unadulterated, and so terribly vital emotion. I drop the broken pieces, their clatter a final forgotten note on the stone floor, and my arms go around her, pulling her into a kiss that is not a kiss, but a prayer. A homecoming, a final, absolute surrender. We come together there in the quiet, holy glow of her own magic, the first rays of a new dawn, and a gentle, silent snow melting on our skin. This scene is about to get too steamy for this platform's comfort, and as much as we'd love to keep going, their guidelines say we need to stop here.
To continue releasing these free audiobooks on this platform, we've got to play by the rules.
The passion doesn't end here.
Visit worldsofprotheka.com to hear the full, uncut version of this fantasy romance, and every daring moment that YouTube can't handle.
Use code YouTube30 for 30% off unabridged audiobooks in the Worlds of Protheka.
Don't let YouTube hold you back. Immerse yourself in a world of magic, danger, and unfiltered passion.
Protheka's magic is eternal.
Listen unabridged and you'll never want to go back.
After, as we lie wrapped together in the snowlight, our bodies a testament to the war we have survived, our shared breaths the only sound in the quiet of the new world. She stirs, her voice clear, strong, and wonderfully alive, the first proclamation of a new queen. I hear not her words, only the beating of her heart.